Let us pray. God our Father, it's Fathers once again. Father, that you saw that we laid down last night and woke up this morning. Father, you looked out for us on the highways and the byways as once again you led us to this place. Father, now we just want to do things that will look right, Father, in the uplifting of the things that you will have us to do. Father, we just a little small county, and you know the name is Mill Six, Father, and we all feel that we can come together and do what's right for at least Mill Six, Father. And Father, be with us now and strengthen us and help us to be wise in our decision making, Father, and help us to understand whatever it is, Father, that it's no enemies in Mill Six County unless the enemy of themselves, Father. And teach us once again to grow. Teach us to take care of your little children, Father, and your elderly and your middle age, Father, and show us the direction to go, Father, because in your word you said that if the blind leads the blind, then all of us will end up in a ditch, Father, and I know you wouldn't want that for us. So, Father, we love you. Thank you for the season and your darling Son, Jesus Christ, who died for all of us. Now, once again, Father, we're just going to say thank you, Father. Thank you in the name of Jesus for being who all you are, for being Alpha and Omega. In Jesus' name we all do pray. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Hammond, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams.
Present.
Mr. Bill Harris.
Present.
Mr. Crittenden.
Here.
Mr. Jesse.
Present.
Mr. Don Harris.
Here. Okay, approval, before we do the approval of the consent agenda, Ms. Lewis, you have a recommendation of a change regarding,
I'm so sorry, I do
Closed
not.
session.
Oh, sorry, yes, we do. My apologies. I was like, which change are we
Okay.
talking about? Yes, Mr. Chairman, we will need a closed session at the end of the meeting. It will be regarding the discussion of the acquisition of real property and the disposition of real property owned by the county and consultation with legal counsel. That will be after the public comment at the end of the meeting, and it is undetermined at this time if you will be taking action after the closed session. And then I also understand there is another change to the consent agenda that
Yeah, I believe the schools have requested that they be bumped up to the beginning of agency staff. They promised they only have a minute. And with the next presentation, perhaps taking about 30 minutes, they've requested that if the board is okay with moving them to the front.
okay, a motion would be made to make those two changes on the agenda.
Also move.
So moved by Mr. Jesse,
Second.
second by Mr. Crittenden. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Crittenden.
Yes.
Mr. Jesse.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved. Thank you very much. Okay, moving right along. I now am looking for, with those changes, approval of the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the proper changes.
Thank you, Mr. Jesse. And I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bill Harris. Seeing no discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Bill Harris.
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden.
Yes.
Mr. Jesse.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes. All right, motion's approved. Discussion topics, you've seen it in your packet, the minutes, disbursements, payroll. Any additions or changes to any of that? Seeing none, I'd move to item number E, recognition award for Henry Easton. And sir, would you just come forward to the podium, please?
We have some of his staff that want to say a few words too, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Longest.
Yes, Mr. Easton has served on our Board of Zoning Appeals since April 1st of 1985, for 40 years. So Mr. Easton was my teacher in high school, and I let him know that he started serving when I was 3 months old. So he's been on there for 40 years, and we do appreciate his service. He has been, I don't know how many years you've been chairman, but most of the 7 I've been on there. Probably 38, probably so. But we do appreciate his service and like to recognize him for the 40 years he is dedicated to. So I do thank you. Do we have anything apart?
We do. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
I would, Mr. Chairman, if the board would grant me some leeway here.
Please, go ahead.
I used to be a planning director for the county in a previous life, and I will tell you my experience with Henry serving as chairman on the BZA. We had a few cases, a couple of intense ones, but we got through them. And Henry's just wise, calm demeanor as chairman. He just brought a sense of order and calm to all of our meetings. And he is going to be sorely missed. I'm sure someone will step up, but you left some pretty big shoes to fill, just with your personality and the way you conducted your meetings, Henry. You will be missed.
Do I have the chairman, as the chairman, the ability to not accept his resignation?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to say something.
Yes, sir, Mr. Jesse, go ahead.
Oh, look, Henry Easton and I go way back because he was my neighbor down on the other side of Micklebury Hill. So I can remember him when I was a little boy, even in his 57 Chevy racing up and down the road. So I can tell you that. I remember that. But anyway, Henry taught me too. And I always say when I grow up, I want to be just like Henry Easton. but I appreciate everything you've done for the county. You served under my father first, and then you served under me for 25 years. So that makes me old. But anyway, the county appreciates you, and the citizens of Jamaica District also appreciate all the work that you have done.
Wonderful. Thanks for all those comments. Mr. Easton, we will miss you greatly. You have been a stable person for us on the board, and we appreciate everything you have done. I would like to read the inscription on the plaque from Middlesex County in recognition for service on the Board of Zoning Appeals, April 1, 1985 through April 2025. Best wishes and full good health and pleasures. And again, we do appreciate everything that you've given to the county for those 40 years, for sure.
Thank
you. All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate everything you've done for us, and we're going to do a quick.
I'm gonna take you.
If we could, if you could come over here, I think that's where you want it, Larry.
school when I went there too.
You put one in and say you've done something special.
Okay, now like to open the floor for public comments.
Thank you. I have two public speakers. First up is Lewis Briggs.
Good afternoon to the Board of Supervisors. My name is Lewis Briggs. I live down 1034 Halers Road. I'm here today to make a complaint about how nasty that road look. You got bum cradles in that road down there, and it's a dangerous road. It's Route 619 if you don't know. And 6 to 8 Bonus Lane is in bad shape. I see y'all been doing a lot of work in this county on different roads. You're supposed to have done work on that road last year, Steinmont Road too, but what happened to the money? I was in here when y'all say that you will work on, start at 629 and bring it on around to 619, but where's the money? What happened to it? But I'm gonna tell you something, that road is dangerous. We done had 3 wrecks on that road since the first of the year. Matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, had a truck turned over down in the bottom. I don't know what his problem was, but anyway, another thing about it, that road is a narrow road. You don't have any lines or nothing in it. And I hope that if you consider doing anything on it, that you put lines, because people, they take the whole road up. And at night, when you're meeting somebody, you don't have, know exactly where the road at because of, the ditch. It's a deep ditch down there. They come down and made I can't say what they made it, but it's deep. You get in it, you're gonna need a record to get you out of it. But anyway, that 668 need to be cleaned up because the bus go down there and it's too dangerous for the bus really, because the bus come out on the curb and trees right, when the bus come out on the curb, they lean to the left, and anybody come around there, it's gonna be a bad accident. People, I don't have to sit here and tell you what the deal is. I have a supervisor that lives down there, and he know what the condition is. I know he had explained it to y'all before, but gentlemen, bring some of the wealth to our part of the county. And down at Locust Hill, they got mulch and everything around that store. They're selling food, and when the wind blow, it blowing toward the store. Y'all need to get somebody to clean that mess up too. That's ISO, and it's a health problem. I know y'all can see all this. I mean, I don't like to come in and tell you this because it's not my job to. I mean, you guys is the supervisor of the county, and some of these places need to be cleaned up, not only at Locust Hill, but a few more places in the county need to be cleaned up. I could go on and tell you this, that, and the other. Like I say, I love my policemen. I love the deputies. I talk with them all the time, and I know the sheriff, but they scared me. The deputies scared me a couple of weeks ago when they come down into an accident, and I know they run 80 miles an hour. At least, I mean, I didn't have nowhere to go. Where was I going? They had me in a corner. I pulled over as far as I could go. I could feel paint coming off my truck. I said, oh, please, give me a break. And they scared me. I'd have been to Vietnam on the battlefield. They scared me that much.
Mr. Lewis, your time's up. I'm sorry, your 3 minutes are up.
Is that okay?
I think we were all listening raptly,
But that's all right. But I got one more thing to say before I go. Please, Supervisor, y'all get together and start having a community meeting. Let people know what's going on. Because the last meeting I went to, John Kuntz had it there at Free Shed, and I haven't seen one since. That's been almost 4 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs, for your comments. What else you got, Ms. Riccardi?
My next public speaker is Kimberly Dina from Urbana.
Good
Well-
afternoon. I'm Kimberly Dina from Urbana. Sheriff Bushy refused in writing to file and investigate my police misconduct complaint submitted in August, violating department policy. The board was informed of the issue in August and at the December and February board meetings. I was told I needed to submit my complaint again in person. On February 12th, I submitted the complaint again in person at the office. I had emailed Sergeant Blanks 3 times between February 1st and March 27th, plus had dispatch pass him my name and number regarding my complaint. No response at all. I received no confirmation of receipt from the physical form that was submitted at the office as well. I emailed all the board members and Sheriff Bushy on April 3rd about the issue and asked them again to set a meeting. Sergeant Blanks then emailed me that same day that his investigation was complete and that my complaint had been labeled unfounded. I have heard nothing from the sheriff or the board. According to the Internal Affairs Policy, the chief deputy or sheriff shall at least conduct a preliminary investigation, which consists of questioning the deputy, complainants, or witnesses, and securing evidence. Upon completion, a report of the alleged violation, any pertinent documents and evidence, and recommendations for further investigation shall be prepared and forwarded through the chain of command. I'm assuming, with the timing, that Sheriff Bushy reached out to Sergeant Blanks after receiving my email at 8:16 a.m. Even if Sergeant Blanks had enough time to get the physical complaint from the sheriff, read all 120 plus pages, and completed everything in less than 6 hours, there's still another issue. Sergeant Blanks isn't the chief deputy and as such had no authority to do the investigation to begin with. That's 4 violations of the Internal Affairs Policy just trying to submit a police conduct complaint alone. To give just one example of a complaint that Sergeant Blanks concluded was unfounded, Virginia law requires a probable cause affidavit to be submitted for all felony charges. I had had a chicken killed by a predator in my backyard. The PC affidavit, signed by Deputy Negron, states 1 felony for the dead chicken. Magistrate Jessica Bolton signed the arrest warrant, which states I, the undersigned, have found probable cause to believe that the accused committed the offense as charged based on the sworn testaments of V. Negron. The felony charge given, that I did unlawfully and feloniously torture, willingly inflict inhumane injury or pain on, cruelly or unnecessarily beat, maim, mutilate, or kill a cat or dog that is a companion animal, and as a direct result cause serious bodily injury or death of such animal. Before my hearings, no one was ever able to tell me what dog or cat I supposedly killed. But despite that, the Commonwealth's attorney refused to drop the charge unless I pleaded guilty to other misdemeanor charges. It wasn't until after that that I was allowed to pull the affidavit to find out that Deputy Negron himself had documented that there was no such dead dog or cat to begin with. Please tell me what part of that is unfounded when it is in the deputy's and the county's own records and files. So I would be really, really appreciative if you could tell me when I'm going to be contacted with the date, time, and location of the meeting that I've been requesting since August. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dene.
Are there any other public speakers?
I'm sorry, I have no other public speakers listed.
Thank you for putting on file that you refuse to meet in person.
Anybody else? Anybody else like to speak? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comments. And we're going to move into constitutional officers. You have in your packet a treasurer's report, Commissioner of Revenue report only. And if there's no comments about either one of those, I'm going to move to item C, Sheriff's Office renovation update. And Mr. England, I think you're going to be on the hot seat. Come forward, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair and members of the board, thank you for a little bit of time this morning, this afternoon. I've got the first couple of supplemental project items for you under the Sheriff's Office renovations. The first was a package to do some roof repairs and gutter replacement on the building that had recently been, or is coming to conclusion of being renovated. We put out an RFP, an IFB on February 20th. We had 2 responsive bidders come in. DeShazo and Sons and Vertex Roofing. And I'm asking you with a staff recommendation this afternoon to award to the low bidder to do both of those supplemental project items for the roof and for the gutter replacement. and I'm certainly available for any questions you may have on that item.
Questions for Mr. England? I have one. You feel comfortable with the DeSaggio and Sons bid?
I do, Mr. Chair. The two bids came in relatively close to each other. They seem to be in the ballpark, and DeShazo is a reputable contractor.
Wonderful. And they're located out of Mechanicsville, I believe?
I believe
that
it's
correct?
Glen Allen.
Glen Allen?
Yes, sir.
Close enough.
Close enough. Greater Richmond area.
Any other questions or discussion?
Do you have it, is it broken down how much the gutters were versus the paint?
I do have the bid tabulation. So for DeShazo, the metal roof repair was $58,425, and the gutter replacement was $19,526.
Thank you.
One other question about the gutter. I know they're commercial gutters, but like the ones we have up there now, are they gonna be similar to them?
They're gonna be very similar to them, basically the same size.
And we don't know whether they're gonna tack them to the roof like the ones we have now, or do we?
Don't know the specifics of how they're gonna attach them to the building, but I imagine that they will certainly do that in accordance with industry standards.
Okay.
Further questions? Okay. The request is to approve DeSaggio and Sons for the roof repair. I need a motion to that effect, please.
Please include the amount with the motion, the 77,951, please.
Correct.
That's the correct one, right?
Yes.
$77,951.
Thank you.
Motion to approve?
So move.
So moved by Mr. Crittenden. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bill Harris. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved for 77,951 to DeSaggio and Sons.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. The next item I have is for a separate supplemental project item we also put out for IFB on February 20th. This item was for pavement overlay in a couple of areas, the secure area that's behind the security fencing, and then the public area that's the main roadway kind of area in the vicinity of the sheriff's office.
If I may, this would be supplemental, this would be handed out to you. Your packet itself only includes what you see on the screen, but we did hand out a replacement page that includes his summary data.
Yeah, I apologize for that, to just make sure everyone has their supplement in front of them. But this
Everybody
item is-
see it? The add-on? Okay, continue, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. This supplemental project has three elements, two areas of pavement, one in the secure area behind the security fencing, and then the area that's in the public area in front of the building. And then the third element was a concrete pad in front of the building as well. I'm bringing for you today a recommendation to move forward with a low bidder. We had two responsive bidders, Finley Asphalt and Sealing, and then locally William Wills Contracting as well. The low bidder was Finley Asphalt and Sealing. And the recommendation I'm bringing before you from staff today is to proceed with just the first two elements, the two paving elements, and we will defer the concrete element and look for more cost-effective ways to do that in the future. I've talked with the sheriff, and those are his priorities, is to move forward with the paving in that order, the secure area first, and then the public area. And then the concrete could be a lower priority item that we can defer and seek to try to do in a more economic fashion down the road. So the staff's recommendation is for you to award contract for $91,825 for Finley Asphalt and Sealing.
Great. I have a question. I thought we also were going to talk to Norman about their initial response Or is that something you're going to talk about?
So when you eliminate the concrete pad, Finley is actually the low bidder at this point. So once you took out the concrete pad, Norman's no longer low bidder, Finley is the low bidder.
Okay.
And
Did Norman even bid it?
they've been hesitant to bid, so we never received anything, which we did not.
Okay.
And they did indicate they were going to have some provisions on warranty, which are not to our favor, that not included in Finley. So we would recommend going with Finley rather than Norman.
Okay. And the public area pavement, just so I'm clear on that, that's from the back of the building, the main road coming out, going towards 33, is that correct?
It doesn't go all the way to 33, but it's in the direction of 33. It's from the secure gate in the very back
Yep.
to the front of the building, the main roadway area that's not already been paved as part of the project.
Okay. Okay. Questions?
In this pricing, has it been addressed what they'll have to do with the fence for the paving to come through there, where they've already put the fence up?
Yes, sir, Mr. Harris. I did talk to the contractor this morning about that, since I knew it was a concern. They're going to do their very best to tamp asphalt up to the fence without having to remove the fence. That certainly would be an additional cost, have to take down the fence that we just put up to do the asphalting. But they believe they can do that and do that in a professional manner and make it look correct.
Thank you.
You say these are, they're two separate areas, so would it be feasible or possible to separate and to say we would do the secure area first, since that seems to be the highest priority, that I know that's needed back in the back, and then do the public area later?
It is possible to award just the secure area under this contract. I think if any time passed, we would likely have to go out for bid again to look at it down the road for doing different areas.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more question. I was a little bit unsure at our last meeting or last discussion we had about this. How does any of this work coincide with the building being ready to have occupancy and move into that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. We did do the IFB pretty readily, pretty quickly to try to do this right on the heels of substantial completion of the current project, so before the sheriff moves in. And the contractor is prepared to start this work as early as right after substantial completion is met in early May, which right now I believe is scheduled for the 4th or 5th of May 2nd at this point. So I did when I talked to the contractor this morning, I made sure they were aware of that, and they're ready to go in May. So I told him likely we would issue notice to proceed around the 5th of May.
In that secured area, I thought at one time we were talking about it needed some grading, that the grade on it really wasn't to our favor. Is that correct or not? Do you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do you recall, Jim?
So we had a change order last month where we corrected that grading. So yeah, it has been corrected.
So we put a couple inches of asphalt down on top, we're still going to be within where we need to be with the grading?
Yeah, we're going to have to do a little bit of
Diversion?
weaving in there at the edge, but yes, they've accounted for that.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, hearing none, at your pleasure, we either need a motion to approve it and go forward with it, or table it and wait on it. What's your pleasure?
Is there a possibility we could do part of it, so we'd have three options, or that's not what we're looking at?
I think per his, Chip's explanation, you could decide to do the public area or the secure area first and then come back, but as he pointed out, it may necessitate another RFP that would go out. Okay?
We are in the future looking at doing something there with the parking lot and everything else for where the basketball court is and where the children's playground and all, and this this public area, that paving would come right past that area, I believe, or right up to it. I don't know if it's something that if we did only do the secure area, and we did have to go back out another contract, we might be able to loop a few more things in there at one time. Just a thought.
Well, and I'll refresh your memory on that a little bit. The discussion was that I think we're still looking at exactly the size and scope of what that parking lot would be, and I think the initial was we would do it with gravel, and then, at a later date, come back and look at that at some point. Okay, I'll put it to you. Either we need a motion or no motion. What's your pleasure?
I'll go ahead and make the motion of considering for the concrete and the paving.
The total
Total.
tag of 91,825,
Yes, total tag of 91,825.
okay? That's a motion by Mr. Jesse. I need a second. Don't be shy.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Crittenden. Thank you, gentlemen. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion's approved. Thank you, Mr. England.
They did, how about the,
Afternoon. So as Chip mentioned, those were two supplementals. What I'm going to talk about for this third item is a change order to the original contract. The good news is substantial completion is May 2nd, so hopefully this is the last time you'll see one of us asking for a change order. We should be finished by the next board meeting. This change order is necessitated because we're in the short rows of the project. We had the electrical installed, and the electrical engineer inadvertently found out, or unexpectedly found out, that the original design was not to code. So we have to make it to code, and it deals with the fire pump, and the cost to rework to make the code is $16,552. We do plan to seek reimbursement from the design parties for this amount, but we're asking for your approval so we do not hold up the project, so we can proceed and finish up on May 2nd and not have to wait for further negotiation as far as the project costs.
Okay, I think we're all well aware of that, and that's to front-end load and pay for the expense and then get that back at a later date.
And we'll do everything we can to get that back.
Okay? A motion would be in order for the amount of 16.5, I think, wherever it is, 16,552. With reimbursement, the county would be looking at a later date. And we feel pretty comfortable that that should happen, correct?
Yes, yes.
Go ahead, go on a limb.
I'm being stared at by the attorney, but yes.
Stared out the bushy, too.
Okay. Well, we have the attorney in our back pocket if we need it, and we think that would be okay. All right, a motion would be in order to approve the 16,552.
I'll make a motion, we approve the change order for $552.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Jesse, second by Mr. Bill Harris. Any further discussion?
I just have one question. You said we're getting near the end of the change order season. I know that we had sort of a cushion built in as far as what our change orders would be in relation to the project bid. Where are we now? Did anybody tell me where we are in that now? As far as, have we exceeded the percentage that we've been talking about, or?
Well, I mean, what we've been talking about, I'm not sure there's a set in stone number, at least I don't think so. If you do not include the supplemental projects, but you assume we get no reimbursement for this, which again, we hope we will, you'll be at 7.9%
Okay.
for your total.
What, all right.
10% was the number,
So we're,
if that's what you asked.
so we're good.
It appears we're good.
I
And
think that-
there are other savings that don't show up in here.
Right.
So that's a high number, that's 7.9. It's actually probably a little lower.
I'd just add, if my memory serves, I think the number we were looking at is $350,000 when the project first started. So,
That sounds
for
about right.
contingency, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion on the change order request of 16,552. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion has occurred. I would caution you, be careful coming back to us for any other change orders.
It'll be the sheriff
Be
next
very careful. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I
sir.
just say a few words? Before Bushy leaves, I want to publicly commend him for being always on that site. He has stayed at that renovation pretty much day in, day out since its inception. If you ever needed to find him, you could look down that road and there he was. And I think his presence on that site has been a benefit greatly to the county. So, thank you, Sheriff.
I would echo that as well. Thank you, sir, for all your due diligence in helping with this project and kind of being the project manager, and we do appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could just also say that from my experience, I've been involved with other police facilities being built, and this one seems to be better thought out than any that I've ever seen, down to the minute detail, and I think that Sheriff Bushy gets the credit for that, so thank you.
I guess I also have to say something too, Sheriff Bushy, since everybody else said something. But no, we appreciate it. You know, you were right on. You saved the county a lot of money, put it that way, because he was there, and he knew what he wanted. And he got what he wanted because he knew what the project was all about and how he wanted to run his sheriff department. And I commend you on that.
Wonderful. All right, moving right along. Agency and staff reports, and I'm going to ask, this was one of the agenda changes. We will ask Dr. Sykes to come forward, please, and/or Ms. Murray.
Good afternoon. We will both join you at the podium. And so I'm going to reference appropriations on page 95. The first is a literacy grant that comes to us from the Virginia Department of Education, and it provided take-home materials, reading materials specifically for some of our younger elementary students. The next two items, Title I and Title III, when school divisions don't use all of those funds, the Virginia Department of Education reassigns the leftovers, and you can see we got a handful of dollars there coming to Middlesex County because other divisions did not take advantage of that. Same thing happened for the next one on the school security grant. We apply and are granted that grant every year. Some school divisions don't use all of their funds, and so this also was a reallocation of leftover funds that come to Middlesex, which we were able to use to purchase additional handheld radios and security cameras. And then lastly, there's a reimbursement from VDOE for a shared expense that we incurred with them. And so those are the appropriations for this month.
Wonderful. I got a couple of questions. No surprise, correct?
Correct.
Just briefly, tell me what school security grant encompasses and the legal services.
Sure. So security grant, this amount of money is the leftover money that was reallocated to us. And we are using it to purchase additional handheld radios that we use that we can connect with dispatch for, and then additional security cameras. Anytime we can have extra security grant money, we typically go the camera route, all three of our schools, and then at our Compass Academy. So this was a small amount. The grant becomes available every year. We apply every year. We don't always get everything that we apply for, but we typically receive anywhere from at least $40,000 to $50,000 a year. This amount happened to be leftover amount.
Wonderful.
For the legal services, this was for a due process hearing that we incurred in conjunction with the Virginia Department of Education. It requires a hearing officer to participate in that, and we share the cost with the Virginia Department of Education. We initially pay for it and then receive reimbursement for half of that cost, and that's what that amount is for.
Great. Any other questions for Dr. Sykes? Seeing none, it would be appropriate to have a motion to approve this request.
I move that we approve the request.
Motion made by Mr. Crittenden.
I'll second it.
And seconded by Mr. Jesse. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, your motion was approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave Lehman and Greg Hunter, I am assuming, correct?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. I have the pleasure of introducing Chief Greg Hunter with King and Queen County Emergency Services. Greg is also the manager of the Middle Peninsula Northern Neck Regional Radio System. And Greg presented this particular program at the Planning District several weeks ago, and Matt asked that we bring it to the board's attention to see if conceptually, if this is something that you would like us to pursue. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greg, and here's your clicker. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just make sure, okay. So the county administrators requested kind of an analysis or a proposal on what opportunities we may have regionally on various public safety items. That was the impetus and the direction from the PDC to ask me to start looking into some things that work and then what some potential opportunities may be for us leaning forward in the future. The primary part, and the few items that I want to speak about, is I'll kind of run through a little bit of an introduction and background, highlight the futures that we face, particularly in emergency services as a region, some of the challenges we probably should be looking forward to, regional benefits of the programs and that I'll speak of, and then opportunities and final tips and takeaway. As stated, this is early, this is conceptual, we're really seeking, is there enough meat on this to move forward, and are each of the individual counties looking that these items are important initiatives and potential cost savings initiatives for us to go down that path. Regardless, it takes all of us coming together to develop these as we look forward, because regional projects can be very successful and they also can have their challenges. From an emergency services perspective, the information in particular is no different than what's in the news or the news headlines. I'm sure Middlesex County, like most of the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck, is seeing challenges and declines in volunteerism, EMS service capabilities. These challenges are not only nationwide, but they're statewide, regionally, and locally. I think we're all feeling the pain. And I think the challenge of applying a traditional emergency services application, whether that's dispatch, communications, fire, EMS, emergency management, those are very costly initiatives for you, the local governments, to take on individually as we move forward. This points me to a saying that Phil McKinney, Hewlett-Packard Chief Technical Officer, really highlights, and this is where I'd like to focus your thoughts for the rest of my presentation. It's the failure of imagination is often described as the inability to see what is beyond the current state of affairs or the status quo. We have to have some imagination with everything I'm going to talk about this evening, because the status quo is extremely expensive and it's extremely costly, and frankly, I'm not sure it's sustainable.
So, first thing I just want to highlight is the concept of the regional public radio system. In 2015, this was the layout of regional communications in the Northern Neck Middle Peninsula region. A wide variety of different types of radio systems, different frequencies. People couldn't speak with each other. There was no standard practice, no standard operating procedures. Fast forward, this is what the current template looks like, 2025, 2026. And this, as you'll see, a large area of the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck turned blue, which is highlights the regional, Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck regional radio system. And then there's the opportunity for Middlesex to integrate into that system as well, should you choose. We can certainly, regardless of the radio frequency, due to modern technology, continue to build out backhaul and support for some of the initiatives I'll talk about today. But what we learned, and we built a very large centralized network. That Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck regional radio system, had each county built it individually, would have cost approximately $38 million. Up to date, we're at $19 million all in, representing a pretty substantial cost savings for the region. It gives us the best technology available, it gives us operability, it gives us a communications plan. But really what this does is, you see this drawing and network, it builds the network. Not only did this system lay the groundwork, but it started placing technology to help share and reduce cost savings and build a larger network that we can lean forward and leverage for computer-aided dispatch, next-gen 911 phone, data sharing, and then radio communications. I say all of that because that backbone leads us to what I believe is probably our next potential opportunity, which is emergency dispatch communications. We didn't end up with a conversation and excuse me, and with emergency dispatch conversation just because, hey, we don't like what it is we're doing. Today, due to General Assembly mandates, changes in expectations in public safety, there's a lot of mandates that are out there that were not on our sheriff's offices individually before. Next-gen 911 was a mandate of the General Assembly requiring not only answering a 911 phone call, but also text to 911, potentially video to 911, and various voice over internet and data requirements, just that the 911 call taker has to handle. Add in emergency medical dispatch. Now we took away just answering the telephone, but the General Assembly has said you need to provide emergency medical pre-arrival instruction, you need to provide directions, you need to assess these calls, prioritize them before you even dispatch the fire department or rescue squad. On top of that, not listed in here, is the Marcus alert system, a mental health mandate that requires a prioritization of mental health initiatives. So all of these mandates have added a tremendous workload to our current individual dispatchers that are operating to answer the 911 call on a daily basis. Those are all external from any county-driven initiative. What we look at with a regional system is, I believe we have an opportunity to have not a one-size-fits-all potential for a system. In that, a locality could have the opportunity to buy into one or multiple parts of a regional dispatch initiative. So you may opt in for 911 call taking processing, emergency medical dispatch. The sheriff may want the law enforcement dispatched. Fire departments may want their fire dispatch. EMS may want their EMS services dispatched. It's not necessarily a complete mandate that you give up individual ownership or we're forcing any locality to do one thing or another. But it would be based on your needs to tie into that. In addition, due to the technology we have within the region now and the P25 standard, we're not forced to a particular vendor anymore. So we can tie a Motorola radio, for example, with Gloucester County. We could tie Gloucester County's radio system to our radio system and have total interoperability and the ability to dispatch those resources from a center if both systems were willing. So in the past, it was very proprietary. A Harris radio or a GE or a Kenwood or a Motorola wouldn't necessarily talk. But due to the standard, we're not technology limited anymore to make this work. So leveraging the fact that we do have a very vast regional backbone network, all of the radio towers within the regional system are interconnected. That allows any dispatch center or allows the system to dispatch any county or locality that participates in the regional system. The technology allows us to interoperate, and obviously you guys are well aware, I'm sure, from past appropriations, the technology is what's expensive and it doesn't go away. It's always a recurring, technology changes. So those are costs that are going to move down the road. But if we can shrink or maximize our ability to use that technology and share those costs, that's where we save money. In the short term, we're looking at foundation costs, brick and mortar basic costs to consolidate or build a center. But with that, you free up space, you free up individual dispatch centers, so the balance kind of negates itself in the longer time. You may gain space that you may or may not need in your individual county. Where the biggest challenge and where the biggest benefit potentially comes is in the people. So for the purpose of this conceptual program, because we've not dove deep into the numbers, we use the National Emergency Number Association's guidance on how to staff, what the number of dispatchers are required for a dispatch center. So a small population, less than 19,000, requires funding for a minimum of 9 dispatch positions. A medium population between 19 and 100,000 is 16 positions, and a large population is a large population of 100 to 140,000 is 26 people. So that's the model guidance that we're comparing to. How does that look for our region? Looking at our individual populations, individually, the King William, Middlesex, Matthews, Essex, and King and Queen all are under the 19,000, requiring 9 dispatch positions, each center. Again, a total population of 97,000, less than 100,000 using the NENA guidance, only calls for 16 total within the region. So if we take including Gloucester County, if we take the total current recommended staffing by individual center, that's 61 positions within the region necessary for dispatchers. That estimated cost for those 61 is just an average cost at $50,000 salary base would cost $3 million. The NENA recommendation for the same population reduces that 61 to 16. I didn't just transpose numbers. So we get a net reduction, and if we took that $50,000 base that we're paying today, gave every dispatcher a 20% pay raise, the total cost would be still less than $1 million at $960,000.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
These numbers here on the, that you just went over a little bit, you have King William, Middlesex, Matthews, Essex, King and Queen. That number with small population, 9, we don't currently carry 9 dispatchers in our county. So I'm curious why the number 9 is used when that's not indicative of really what, or am I looking at it wrong or not perceiving it correctly?
This is leveraging the model recommendation numbers, not the actual numbers today. So we've not conducted individual analysis. I have no idea what Middlesex County today hires in dispatcher positions. I know King and Queen and Essex are both 9. The sheriff may hire more right now. Those numbers may change, but the model says that you should have 9 in order to cover your positions.
What's our number, Dave?
We've got 14, but that includes full-time and part-time.
That's what I was going to say. We got a lot of part-time.
A lot of part-time.
Okay.
So, and to that point, with the part-time in King and Queen, I think we have 13.
Okay?
And, Mr. Chairman, if I can just extend a little bit, reminding the board, we discussed this very briefly. It came up very briefly in the first work session we had with the sheriff regarding a number of issues. And we said, put a pin in that because we're going to have somebody come and talk about the regional dispatch, regional radio system. We actually bumped that up a little bit earlier. We had planned to host Mr. Hunter here in May or June, but as we'll get to towards the end of the presentation, we opted to try to fit him in this month. One of the most intriguing things, I guess I'll use that word, about this whole presentation, when we heard it at the county administrators meeting and then again at the commission meeting just this last month, is the amount of duplicated effort each county has to fulfill a core component that all of us have to do. If there was a method to regionalize that, substantial savings could ensue, and I think Greg's going to segue into some other benefits as well. But the amount of money we're talking about is very substantial. So these are some of the strategic issues that the county administrators are looking at to try to save our region, not just our home counties, money. So.
Continue, sir.
Yes, sir. So we took these same numbers and just applied them to the Northern Neck as well, just for a comparison. The total population of the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck would total about 147,000. For the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck, 36 additional dispatch positions. So that's a $1.8 million base. Again, they could reduce by 20 positions, and if we consolidated centers, we could potentially save or reallocate, that's an important point, of about $3 million annually each year in positions. So speaking of cost savings, we don't necessarily need to cut jobs or lose jobs. That's not the point of the discussion. But by consolidating the number of dispatchers, basically making the dispatch function more efficient and effective, you potentially free up your comp board funding or other funding for deputies or administrative support staff or things that the sheriff or our communities really need. So, yes, you can save money, or it gives you a funding source to expand the primary public safety services that are out on the street because we make a service more efficient. I use this comparison to look outside of our region just for a little bit of perspective. Using the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck population of 147,000 people, I compared this to Durham, North Carolina, that has a centralized dispatch center. Based off of today's number recommendations, not including the part-time, we would have 97 communicator positions covering the service for 147,000 residents in the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck combined. Durham, North Carolina has a population of 326,000 residents, and they use 84 positions today. So they have less dispatchers for twice the amount of population for a much larger center and call volume population. Just highlighting that we've got a lot of extra positions and a lot of extra services in place for half the call volume. So regional dispatch is not a new initiative. And regional communications is not necessarily a new initiative. One, building interoperable regional communication systems. We're starting to see that really vastly on the radio side throughout Virginia. A lot of localities are partnering, 3, 4, 5 localities. From a dispatch perspective, some other case studies for us are James City, York, Poquoson, and Williamsburg have recently consolidated their dispatch center. So they are operating in a consolidated 911 dispatch center just down the road. Dinwiddie County, Charlottesville, Albemarle, Pulaski, Radford. There's a couple more in the works. So regional dispatch, and I'll follow up with this in a minute, isn't a new concept. The photo that I have illustrated is the big dog, I like to say in the room. That's the Fairfax County 911 Dispatch Center. And part of the vision that I'll talk about, going back to that imagination, is not only fire, rescue, and law enforcement dispatch, but how can we make our public safety more efficient moving forward? Fairfax County actually integrates Virginia State Police, VDOT, and other entities into the dispatch center. Now, we may not have that. We don't have the major interstates, but think about marine resources, forestry. A lot of the entities that we work with the state locally, we could have right there, even potentially Virginia State Police and VDOT, right in the dispatch center to handle issues and look at it from a big picture and coordinate that right with our first responders. And I've got a little highlight on that one here in a moment. So again, potential partners, why this becomes important is not only the operability opportunity here with all of these different entities, but a funding potential, right? When we start talking about the dollar, how can we build these centers and how can we partner this? Fairfax County and the Commonwealth of Virginia went half and half on the McConnell Public Safety Transportation Center. 50% roughly of the facility cost was built into that, which helps defer some of the costs from us into that brick and mortar type facility. I spoke that this isn't new. When we talk about money, money is the big driver, right? Concept's not new. There are currently grants out there that exist today. July 1 of this year, or June 30th of 2025 is the close date for a PSAP consolidation grant. Up to $1 million in funding is available to start that process, right? So that grant exists as it stands today. And is a big opportunity for us to start looking if agencies commit, whether that's funding to hire a consultant to study this further, whether that's funding to start integrating backhaul. There's opportunities, to tie microwaves and different things like that together. A lot of opportunities exist for this money, and it exists today. The question does become, is consolidation right for the region? And that's the question posed back to the boards, to the local boards. But this consolidation, I keep pointing. 2023, I'm going to use 2 case studies here just to give you some reference. 2023, this was a presentation provided to the Next Gen 911 Board and at the Commonwealth of Virginia. All of the different reasons to consider PSAP consolidation. This duplication of effort, the lack of dedicated PSAP staff in smaller regions. What I will use with our regional radio system is, with the 6 counties that are currently participating, we have basically myself and 2 shared technical support people that we do all the software updates on the regional radio system, we do radio programming, we do maintenance, part swaps. Each individual locality doesn't have to pay for that person or pay for that service from a vendor. The second is we share spare parts. So we have 1 spare part pool for 19 radio sites. Instead of every county buying all of those different parts, as it relates to dispatch, today we have 29 dispatch consoles deployed. If we reduced back and needed 10, we would have those already within the system. And then moving forward, we would only need to maintain 10 dispatch consoles instead of 29 throughout the region. So a lot of opportunities to reduce the budgeting process, minimize redundancy, and also it helps reduce our maintenance and our training costs by consolidating. James City, York, I presented, this is from the presentation. This just highlights, again, looking at very similar numbers, the population of the James City, York, City of Poquoson, and Williamsburg totaled about 172,000 residents. So that's the upper end of that large dispatch NENA number, and they're funding 28 positions. So the numbers that I'm referencing are basically at our back door, being substantiated with that the model is pretty appropriate. and that's to answer 82,000 911 calls a year. Where I became a little concerned as I was going through this presentation was this slide, and that was the Region 5 potential scenario. They've presented already at the state a proposal to have one dispatch center for all of Eastern Virginia, the blue area on Region 5. Okay, so that would include all of the key cities, and then basically from Westmoreland all the way through to Virginia Beach. That, from an emergency services perspective, that might be a far reach. That might be a great concept in the long run, but I'll just be honest. Even for me as a progressive type, I feel like I'm a progressive change person. That's like my comfort level's not there as a frontline emergency responder. So I think the beauty of the potential of us becoming regional dispatch centers locally is, number one, we own it. We have some control over our destiny. Number two, it's our people and our end users have a higher comfort level as we work through that process, but we still gain the efficiencies. So that is the kind of the case for the regional dispatch, but I load that with the potential for building a regional emergency operations center in that same dispatch center. So when we have a large hurricane, we're dealing with Route 17 evacuations, when we're dealing with wildfires, right now each of us are trying to have emergency services coordinators, emergency services managers. We don't really have the staff, no, I don't have the staff to spool up a big EOC, particularly for weeks on end after a big event. The advantages, due to the mutual aid agreement that's already in place between all of the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck counties, we're able to work together and build that out. But really, a space that's tied to a dispatch center could be very effective. And if we bring in a statewide incident management team for a very large process, we give them a facility to work in. We give them a facility tied to our dispatch that can work with our local coordinators. And we're not all building big, vast centers based on whatever the changing designs are. So I say this as the opportunity exists, if we look at this big regional concept, that more opportunities do exist or are on the table for that. The last two things that I will just summarize, these are simply placeholders in the conversation, are looking forward to, as I mentioned, fire and EMS. What does fire and EMS look like? I don't have a bunch of stuff built out, but I know that just for us and King and Queen, we're at like $2.5 million for EMS. If we need to start taking on fire, those costs dramatically go up. $3, $5, $10 million just to get a bare minimum skeleton of crew if we had to start supporting or supplementing our volunteer departments. I also think that we compete in fire and EMS. I know firsthand, the minute I train my EMT, they chase to the next jurisdiction for 25 cents. They go to the next jurisdiction for 50 cents, and we have a rotating pool of people. So if we regionally start to look at our concepts similar to an authority, we may have an ability to stabilize the workforce and stabilize the services that are provided within the region. The second part of that, with all of these, are can we build the logistics and support mechanisms, whether it's radio communications, dispatch centers, EOC, fire and rescue. We have a lot of needs when you now own a system. You have to train people, you have to have training facilities, you may have logistics facilities. A lot of that's historically been handled by organizations. So looking at a more strategically, a concept of sharing duplicated costs that may be duplicated and bringing those back to a regional shared initiative could really save us a bunch of money in the longer term picture. So with that, all of this conversation is really step one. The question is there a willingness, and does this sound like an idea that has merit to move forward to dig into more of the research? And in particular, what I'm really speaking of is the regional dispatch center at this point. I talk about regional radio. I think it was 10 years ago when we first started the conversation of regional radio systems in this area. It's taken us 10 years to build out 6 counties. It's going to be a long-term process, but we need to start somewhere, and we need to have the initiative to move forward. So that's the question is this a vision that aligns with Middlesex County and your future needs? Is there a way we can work together and try to research this and build that plan? Because the soup isn't made yet. We're just opening the kitchen door right now. Can we seek the funding opportunities? I'm a big source of getting someone else to try to pay for as much. Federal grants, who knows what will happen with federal money, but from a state funding opportunity, there are funds in place. And every locality is currently setting aside funds in their capital improvement budgets for capital improvement initiatives. So perhaps we could consolidate and work together on those to come up with a plan to help work through some of these needs together. Getting the relationships built now, local, state, and federal level, to shift that out, and then being ready to seize the opportunity. I believe that in any of these cases, it's just a matter of timing and opportunity. And I believe opportunities, at least in the next 36 to 48 months, are definitely going to come our way within the communications world, because there's a lot more change forthcoming in dispatch and those trends, whether they become public service providers, first responders, things like that. So, with that, I am here for questions.
Go ahead, Bill.
Is 800 megahertz the norm now, or not necessarily, or?
Not necessarily. So, 800 megahertz was the norm. 700 megahertz became the frequency spectrum that was most accessible, but it has limitations. Some of those are imposed by the FCC. What I generally speak in the radio world is the lower your frequency, the less towers. The higher your frequency, like 700, 800, the more radio towers you need. The regional system, we went with the UHF spectrum, 400, because it's a very good balance and gives us really good coverage to meet the public safety spectrum. But 700, there is no one frequency is better than the other. It's what's engineered for your location.
I happened to be in James City when they converted that, when they all went together, the Williamsburg and so forth and so on. I was with the utility, but still we all had the same radios, talked to the dispatchers at night and everything. And from a user's point, it went really well. And I think it's a good product. I appreciate you coming forward talking about it, because I think it has a very usefulness to it. Also, one thing that they expressed to us was that when you get this region together, that if something catastrophic happens and the federal government comes in, then it's easy for them to plug right into our operations and everything as a federal government here to hopefully help mitigate some of the problems that we're having. It puts them right in the plug versus got to deal with this one over here and this one over there to go to a regional dispatch. I'm only one person, but I support it. And thank you for coming and talking to us about it.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of comments. First of all, I'm on board. I mean, I like this idea. I think this is probably way past due. The concept of it is great. I do have a couple of things that I can see would be problem areas down the road. One would be different policy. Let's say fire department, different policies. Maybe Middlesex might say for a structure fire, this is what we send, and Lancaster said, no, this is what we send. So the dispatchers would have to really, either we would have to start everybody agreeing on, okay, this is what we're going to do in this whole region, or each individual, the dispatchers would have to know who to send, depending on where it is. So I could see where that could be an issue. Another one is familiarity. I started my police career 2 years in a radio room, and I knew that there was a value for me to know where the problem areas are, who the problem people were, that sort of thing. And so that would be a Herculean task for one person to know all those areas from 5 different counties or whatever. But I do think that's good. The biggest question I would have would be, who would be the person or the organization that would it be an independent, or would it be basically in one or manned or supervised by one county? Who would set the policies? Who would do the supervision of the personnel. Would that be whatever county was unlucky enough to have this in the middle of them? Or would that be something that would be more independently run by the whole group, like a PDC type group or something?
So the current, I'll speak about the current and what I believe is the future, and Mr. Walker, please weigh in. But the, presently, the regional radio system has a radio control board. Each locality has 2 elected members or appointed members, and they drive the policy, and then the stakeholders work through several of the issues, like how they want to speak and how, the different, on radio, it's really just decisions like how many talk groups, things like that. For the dispatch center, and kind of moving forward, I believe all of us that are working in the current believe establishing an authority would likely be the better solution, that each locality has input on or representation on, but then that way it's its own independent entity and not, not one jurisdiction driving the discussion.
I'm sure these are all problems that can be worked out, and, but as I said from the beginning, I think this is a really great concept.
And to speak briefly, the protocol is nowadays, the CAD-driven, every locality, we do it today with Essex County, King and Queen and Essex, we share a CAD system. For a structure fire, we push, if we're in King and Queen, we push it and it dispatches, the CAD tells the dispatcher what to say. Frankly, the CAD system now has a voice-to-text or a text-to-voice option where it will say on the radio for the dispatcher what complement. And if they cross the line into Essex, the protocol is in that CAD and it's just a push of a button and it takes care of it.
Okay, well, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the stories that Greg told during our presentation at the commission, and I think it came up at the county administrators meeting previous to that, is the experience they had at the fire up in Essex or the tornado.
Yes.
Where Greg actually came in and actually was able to help, I'm going to say, supplement the staffing and the management of the incident response. You had people, obviously, with their hands full, so having that depth on the bench really helped when an emergency like that hit. And Greg, if you don't mind, could you go back to your picture of the Fairfax facility? Because another thing that came up, and this is probably a next step down the road, that's it. If you notice, that's a pretty complicated room right there. But what you see is a combination of state police, just about everything you can think of 911 related, including VDOT. Correct. And they're all in the same room. And the video that Mr. Hunter, Greg, showed us during the LGA and I think at the commissioner meeting as well, is they have that table in the middle. I forgot what they call it, but it's,
Supervisor.
let me see if I can point to it. This table right here, where everybody can come together and work a problem. So if there's a problem like after a hurricane, instead of working the phones and, hey, Lewis called in, there's a tree across 619, we got to let VDOT know, they're all right there. So you look at the next generation of E911 response where everyone's in the same room working to a common purpose, as opposed to the state police is over in their shed, the VDOT people are over in theirs, and Dave and I are working in our EOC, which for a long time was under an oak tree. We laugh about that. We got a new one now in the sheriff's office. But this is reachable for our region. And the slide that shows Durham and the number of dispatchers they have, that's telling.
This could save a lot of money.
Oh, and save it or repurpose it, free up funds for other things. And as we know, we just went through our budget process. Wow, if we were able to free up some funds and put it to a different purpose and still have the same or better service on that core function, how much better off would we be? It's something I think we as smaller rural localities are going to be forced to look at, whether we want to or not. And the demographics, you've heard me quote my Peter Zehan videos all the time. Demographics are real. It's harder and harder to get people to apply for jobs out here in the rural communities sometimes. And the last thing I'll say, and you can tell I'm a champion, I'm excited. Many of our dispatchers work part-time in the county over. So if they have a position it comes up and they're gonna hop, and God willing, they should, because they're doing what's in the best interest of them and their families. It's getting harder and harder to recruit for those positions because there are fewer and fewer people there, and almost all of them are working part-time for another county. So, there you go.
I got a couple questions, briefly. Some you may be able to answer, some may need more information. So, the proposal for a regional emergency service, is there a minimum number to be a regional entity?
No, sir.
So two counties?
Two counties.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. And are we thinking one center would be appropriate to, and I don't know what the number is, would that be 3 county? One center could do 3 counties or 4 counties or possibly 5 counties? I would think the smaller population counties, you could have more counties involved with that without a problem.
I'll answer the question, but I'll preface it with, it's simply my conceptual idea. We need to dig into some data. I believe a single entity with 2 separate dispatch centers, if the Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck both agreed to join. One center on the Northern Neck, one center on the Middle Peninsula, because we can keep the local people, hopefully keep local people working in the commute time and get some of the familiar faces that know the areas to stay on the Middle Peninsula or the Northern Neck. But 2, it gives us redundancy. I am a huge fan of having 911 center redundancy. So if we have a power outage, if we have a catastrophic fire, if we have a data breach that takes out a server or takes out hardware in the primary facility, all the calls simply revert to the other facility. So in the regional system today, we do that with some of our dispatch consoles, but there's a lot of gaps there. So I would think a center on each peninsula, and then if, let's say, the Northern Neck chose not to participate, well, then perhaps we do 2 smaller centers on the Middle Peninsula. I think that's where we need to get into the details, how many centers are
Correct.
participating.
My thought would be you start with a center and then you add if you need to.
Yes, sir.
My personal opinion. And how many counties at this date have you thrown this idea at, and how many are seriously interested in looking at it? Can you expand on that?
In about 1 hour, I'm going to present to Essex at their request.
Okay.
They're very, very interested. King and Queen, the chairman, has expressed to me to move forward. They
Okay.
have taken an official vote. I've not spoken with Matthews yet. I know there was some interest, at least in conversation, at the table.
Yeah, if I can interject real quick, not to steal your thunder on that. I looked for them at the beginning of the meeting, but they quite hadn't got here yet. The commute must have been pretty intense from Matthews. But, Mr. Chairman, with us tonight from Matthews County is David Jones from their board and Mr. Tim Hall. They came in, I think they heard the pertinent versions of the presentation, so they're here to learn more as well.
Okay. So that's information on continuing to move with questions and cost and grants and all of those things included.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and just for my benefit, maybe some of the others, on page 23 of your presentation, Region 5 potential future scenarios.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. That's just a scenario there.
Yes.
On how certain counties or cities could be combined into a regional type approach.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
okay. My concern, just so you know going forward, is there's some counties here that make sense, Middle Peninsula and Northern Neck teaming together. I'm not sure it makes sense for us to team with Suffolk and Virginia Beach and some of those bigger spots. That, to me, wouldn't make very much sense. and cost-wise, it would be considerable for us to consider that in what we would determine would be a region, potentially the northern neck in the Middle Peninsula. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and I share your position.
Okay, wonderful. I don't get that very often.
Mr. Chairman, I think this
Just
was
kidding.
presented by for the state's benefit, and when we were reading it the last time, it said at the top of the page, draft for discussion purposes only, and it definitely caused a lot of discussions.
So just to recap, you're looking for, you have a question, Bill? No. Reggie?
I was just gonna make the statement that from using it, I was able to communicate with a handheld all the way to Williamsburg, just like that. No problem whatsoever. It's amazing, yeah. Flawlessly.
So you're looking for a consensus for us for you to continue to move forward in gathering information, potential commitments or counties that would be interested in. Last but number one for me would be what the cost would be to implement such a program.
Yes, sir. My ask to the boards or recommendation to the boards would be a simple letter of interest or letter of intent or approval of the board, however that process works, so that I have a firm number to then report back to and seek that funding or, move forward. A couple of next step options is that research, looking at the funding alternatives, and then if we have a suitable enough number of interested parties, there's a legislative part of this to look at creating the authority. So we would certainly want to be in the General Assembly in the next session to start that process if those numbers are where we want them to be. So there's a lot of groundwork to do.
Okay, so is there a consensus on the board to empower our county administrator to create some sort of letter of interest from the board in gathering information, et cetera, moving forward?
And Mr. Chairman, I was going to recommend I could have the sheriff co-sign my letter because, as Sheriff Bushy mentioned in the work session, preliminarily, he's very much in favor of pursuing this as well.
Okay, that's fine. Wayne?
No, yeah, I was just saying, like we all know, it only makes sense, of combining together as a saving. But at a meeting, isn't there some deadline about some grant money that was available? I remember you mentioned at the meeting, and that's why this whole thing came together,
Yes,
and it's a certain deadline.
June 30th of this year is the consolidation, Virginia consolidation grant deadline. So if we have letters of interest, our intent would be to take those letters of interest and seek that grant to either seek a consultant to do more in-depth research on this and leverage those grant funds to help offset some of those costs to do that work.
I would like to see a little bit more, research and data, so you got to get into it. But right now, I want to see something written down, that I can go by. And it's going to be data, numbers, and the reason that we're doing it, and how it's going to help Middlesex or Matthews or whatever, versus what we're doing now that it seems like it's nothing. So we come in with something with a center there, we're saying what we got is basically, I guess we're looking at the future. I want to see data, the model. I saw a couple models that, that looked good when it was talking. And then after you got finished the model, put you right in the river. So I'd like to see it. We got a lot of space here covered. And when we look at, Fairfax and all them areas, even in James City County, you got Williamsburg and Middlesex, you don't have nothing. And Matthews, you don't have nothing. Everything is scattered out. So even calls that you give, it's going to take time and the feet on the ground. How we going to save feet on the ground versus somebody getting in a data system and saying, hey, you got to go to Northumberland. And Northumberland says, well, I ain't got nobody. So, I'm just saying that I want to see data. I want to see how you're going to do it. I want to make it plain. I'm not against it because I believe we need, things in the future. We don't have a big thing about, bad weather and stuff here because that's what we're talking about. So I just want to see some data and, costs. Where can we get the grants from? Just like you said earlier, we don't know where the grants going to come from now. Maybe we get something from the federal government, but we put a bank there, we get something. That would be good. Okay.
Okay,
Can
so
I ask the
is,
county administrator, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Matt, but is it too early to bring up the fact that, I know it's a lot of moving parts to it, but the fact that our sheriff is moving to a new office, and we may have a space here that could at least start it off.
It's not
Like I
too-
say, I know there's some different elements to it, but if you could elaborate maybe.
That's not putting me on the spot at all. In fact, Wayne and I were whispering to one another in the commission. He said, you know, if Reggie's here, he's going to want it in Middlesex. And I said, I've already beat him to it because we've got a preliminary plan to rent the building, but of course, he is not taking our dispatchers with him. And as Greg said, it's an interface thing between systems. I don't think it's too early at all. If we're interested in participating, we could definitely throw that location on the table. I think the fact that our sheriff's willing to proceed with it, I think is strong. David's not taking his dispatchers with him, so they're going to be over in that building. And there'll be a substantial amount of room available for a renovation of that space. And it is probably just as likely as any. Now, I'm pretty sure about this. King and Queen's got a space they have in mind over in King and Queen too. So Reggie's going to have to help me sell it, but he's good at that. And I would say this is a case of doing more with less, sometimes thinking bigger.
That's one thing that I pick up, what you were saying, you do more with less, so you can save a whole lot of money by having less people. They're the kind of numbers I want to see. You know, the numbers you're saying, well, over a period of time, you got less people, you got less, what you got, but it's still gonna go back to the people that got feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones actually gonna go out and do the work, so we gotta be cautious there.
Our building's right here, not too far from 17, easy commuting.
I will, for the record, I am not advocating, I want to see the project move, and we'll get into.
We're
the
going to
details.
sweet talk Vivian. That's who we're going to sweet
There
talk.
you go.
okay,
If I,
So
I
the
don't
con-
want
so-
to, what Mr. Lehman asked me to just mention, the only other bearing is this image that I placed up. Your radio system, we can integrate your existing 700 megahertz radio system to the UHF system by simply connecting the microwave backhaul. So for Middlesex County alone, your existing radio infrastructure, we can integrate that. So that's a specific isolated cost that is specific to you guys. That's the impact. So,
okay, well, it sounds like the consensus is for us to empower our county administrator to develop a letter for you. That's not a yes completely. That's for you to continue on with your due diligence. And I'll just, and Dave Lehman can support this next thing I'll say. This board is very interested in what Mr. Williams said, having all the data that we need to see and dissect. And of course, there'll be questions out of there, but this board is made up of a lot of those people that want to see the data and/or want to see what the savings would be and/or what the cost would be. And I'll let you come back with that answer at a later date. It also would be interesting if we have 4 counties, or 3 counties, or 2 counties, how is the distribution going to be on cost on that? Is everybody sharing equally, or is there, because of population, a little bit more this county versus another county? So we'd want to see that as well.
understood.
Anything else you have today, sir?
No, sir, thank you all for your time.
Mr. Chair, I know you said you want to see, but you got to think about this. They have certain deadlines to say, hey, let's see this out and see what happens. And it's a yes, it'll be yes. You either say, no, I don't want to do it. And then when you put your idea and say, hey, yeah, we want to be involved, then that's when you get all your other information. Right now, he want to know, hey, do Middlesex County want to be involved? That's all he want to say right now.
Right.
And you got to do that. And all to just say, we don't want yes. Yeah, we want yes. We want to be involved. And then we'll find all the information out. And then that's when the rubber hits the road. So
I
yeah,
get
yes, we want to be a part of what's going on.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, and thanks for reviewing that. I appreciate that.
We discussed that very thing at the commission
Yeah.
meeting, and
Yeah.
what happens inevitably, if you try to do anything regionally, you'll have a couple of counties that will go together and on faith, sometimes, move forward. And then once other counties start seeing success, that's when the great glomming on happens. No one wants to jump too quick, but if you have sometimes just 2, 3 counties that move forward, then everybody else, here they come, because they see it's being successful.
Wonderful.
So sometimes you just got to take that first step.
And we have plenty of room in case others want to jump.
We have plenty of room with an easy commuting range of 17 and the metro area.
Thank you for being here.
Thank
We look
you.
forward to hearing from you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving right along, item B, we did a little juggling. Item B, VDOT report only. Mr. Administrator, would you retouch base with
Mr. McKnight?
with Mr. McKnight, and I wrote down, but I may have them wrong, Mr. Briggs had mentioned Route 629. I know some parts of that has had some repair work done it, but would you see where we are with that?
Absolutely.
And what other, I'm not sure what the other route number, I wrote 619, is that correct, sir?
Yeah, it's
Bunkers Lane.
619, and
I wrote them down.
Yeah.
I got them.
Okay, would you reach out and see if you can,
I will. What I'll do is I'll mention it to Mr. McKnight, and I'll have Mr. McKnight reach out to Lewis.
okay?
How about the cleanup that he talked about? How can we address that?
Well, that's something, we were just handing out some materials to our volunteers. We can mention it to them, too. Anne Marie, I think, could mention that with our Keep Middlesex Beautiful folks.
Right. If you're referring to our Keep Middlesex Beautiful team, plus we normally once a year have a litter pickup by a professional firm. The professional firm is no longer in business, neither is the one that we used before that. So right now, we do not have the one that we normally use for the speedier highways. If you hear of anyone, let me know, but I've reached out to even VDOT, and they don't have one anymore either.
There was also a initiative, I guess, started a few months ago about trying to utilize inmates for certain things. I don't know where that stands, but I could talk to the sheriff about that.
So we have a figure where we've paid a private contractor before to do some of that stuff?
Absolutely, yes, on our
Maybe
highest speed
maybe there's
roads.
some kind of way we can look at, maybe a local person might want to be interested in some kind of contract like that, if they even have to start something new, or we put it out there some kind of way, so we give them an opportunity.
Right. We did 35 miles of road. Every year, we do about 35 miles of road professionally. And then the volunteers of the Keep Middlesex Beautiful probably do another 30 miles of roadway. So
That's a lot. Thanks for all
It
your
is.
help.
Okay, moving right along, we have taken care of the school matters. Social services is a report only, page 97 and 99. And we're going to move down to item E, Middlesex Broadband Authority update, Kevin Gentry. Kevin, are you here? Oh,
I am. I just appear out of nowhere. Thank you,
yes,
Mr.
sir, you
Chairman.
have a podium, go ahead.
All right. I just want to give you a quick update. I know we haven't spoken in a while. Want to give you some good news that our project with All Points Broadband is in the home stretch. All Points has released to sales about 800 locations. In fact, the first customer installation was today. Working through some construction issues. There's a couple little problem areas, but they are being worked on. One is Montague Island Road and one's Pirates Bluff. Those locations will be served, just not yet. Community outreach for the project, we held it's called Fifth Sunday at Emmanuel Baptist Church. That was a couple weeks ago. We hung out there after the service, had folks from All Points making sure people could get signed up for service if they were in the service area. Interesting little anecdote. One of the gentlemen, much older gentleman, I think he might have been in his 90s, he wanted to sign up. He didn't even have an email, and you have to have an email to sign up. And the sales, Steve Pitts, who's the sales manager for All Points, said, I got you. I'm going to come to your house next Tuesday. We're going to get you an email, and we're going to do all the things. So I can't say enough good things about the sales staff. Of course, they're doing it to get more customers, but I just thought that was a really nice gesture. We have another event coming up at the Wooden Pickle Cafe. That'll be on April 26th. They'll have coffee, they'll have things like that. And I know that's not really in the main area of the project, but it's sort of central to the county, and there is some activity that goes on throughout the county. So they'll be hosting that. We're also looking at next month, my broadband chairman, Wayne Jesse, brought up Hermitage Baptist, which is more in that area. It's a voting precinct. I've reached out to the pastor there, and we're looking at doing something there in May as well, just to get face-to-face with people and get them signed up. Any questions about that? All right. And thank you for your investment in this project. It's really reaping dividends, and it's really exciting because we are in the home stretch. Also working on the Digital Opportunity Project. There is a survey on the website. It's at the top of the website. It's also on our social media channels. If the public can go in there and sign up and fill in their information, what we're trying to get is demographic information so that we can then go and use that information to pursue other grant opportunities in the future. There's also a little incentive there. There's a $250 Visa card you can win if you get chosen, just to get people to buy in and fill out the form. So if you haven't done so, please go onto the website and fill that out. Next steps with broadband, post-VADI, which is this current project with All Points, will be the BEAD program. I don't really have any updates for you about BEAD, except to say that BEAD is the project that kind of fills in all the gaps as far as getting broadband to the residents and broken out into zip codes. So those, I expect those to be awarded within the next several months unless something changes. And that's pretty much it for me right now. Is there any other questions about any of that?
No, not any question, but I was just letting you know, let everybody know that Kevin, they came up to my house the other day and put the box inside the house, and from 17, they bored under 17. But I'm letting you know about it. and Kevin came up to see, exactly how they were doing things, because, a lot of times you wonder how they're going to get across the road, they're going to go on the telephone, the electrical lines to get across, but they bore under, and then they branch off to the homes on that side.
It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't expect they'd be able to go into the highway like that.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. And, yeah, absolutely. And I need to say, as far as like the Fifth Sunday event and Hermitage, one of the benefits of having Wayne as the broadband authority chairman is he kind of knows everybody. So he was the one that said, hey, why don't you reach out to this person? Why don't you reach out to that person? So that's how we're getting all this sorted out. So thank you for loaning us Wayne for these projects. That's all I got.
Thank you for everything you're doing with that. You're doing a good job. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the same thing. You said a few minutes ago, thank you for the county being involved in the project. Well, projects that we want to get involved in, we want to make sure laundry list of items, but probably more importantly is who's going to run the show and who's going to take care of the problems and the issues that go with that. And you have done a wonderful job with that, and we certainly appreciate it. You're one of the few departments that we don't have to wrestle with from time to time. And yeah, knock on wood. But thank you very much for everything that you do for the county and for this board, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's see. Regular agenda items, item number 5A, Gov Deals, surplus vehicles. Anne Marie Riccardi, you're on the seat.
As you all can see, we've got 4 vehicles that have been replaced, no longer needed by the sheriff's office. They are 4 Chevy Caprices. The mileage is shown on the screen. The first vehicle on that list has been requested to be transferred to the regional jail. They use it to apparently do something with the training at the academy. And they're replacing a current Charger, and they're having so much troubles with it. When they saw ours with the broken windshield, they said, we'd take that one. So they're taking the one with the broken windshield, which is 1403, if we declare it surplus and allow it to happen. The other 3, I will put on Gov Deals for sale. The airport, as you all know, has expressed an interest in obtaining a vehicle. They looked at all these. They even picked out one. I think they picked out 1501. But after discussion with Major Sampson, they decided to wait till the next batch of surplus vehicles, which would probably have a Ford Explorer with lower mileage and less wear. And plus, that gives us an opportunity to, again, later on, discuss the opportunity for the airport to have their own courtesy vehicle. But they do have it in their policy as well. So at this time, I'm requesting that the Board of Supervisors declare the 4 vehicles surplus, approve the transfer of 1403 to the regional jail, and authorize the sale of the remaining vehicles via Gov Deals.
Question. The 4 vehicles that we're looking to surplus, we've already empowered the sheriff's office to purchase how many more? 4?
The 4 are in for next year's budget, yes, and these are from prior year.
Correct. Okay, yeah, too many cars. I think I asked this question. Number one, well, let me just back up a minute. Why would the jail want a vehicle with 166,000 when there's another Caprice 1701 at 130,000 miles? Or is that our determination which one we go?
That was their determination. They went out and tested them all and saw them all and said, this will work.
Really? Okay. Okay, fine. Just, it was curious that they took the higher.
The higher
Mileage.
mileage with the correct windshield but I sat in them, and not all of them are pretty.
Okay.
Do we get the money when they surplus it, they get through it with it, they give us the money back, or, you know?
No.
Okay, so you need action on the item number 1403, or are we,
Declare the 4 items, the 4 vehicles as surplus, approve the transfer of 1403 to the jail, and authorize me to sell the remaining vehicles via Gov Deals.
need a motion on that, please?
I got a question first. I thought it was somewhere that we was getting all these new vehicles because the place we were buying them for allowed us to get some money for them. And we are surplusing them now, so what's?
Right, that is correct. And then they would give us a base price of probably about last time I checked, it was about $2,100 for their vehicles. Between $1,500 and $2,100 are these vehicles. And I think last time I got about $6,000 for the selling them on Gov Deals. So absolutely, you're talking about Enterprise, thank you. Enterprise. Now, for the current vehicles, we can do that. It's a lot better funding because the vehicles are still relatively new when we get rid of them. These vehicles are very old. They were never on the Enterprise rental program. These were purely purchases back in 2013 to 2017. I think the program with Enterprise probably started in 2020, maybe 2021. Does that sound about right, Matt? I'm looking to you. Do you remember? It was somewhere around there. It was just before I got here.
I want to think it was earlier than that, because it was pre-pandemic.
Was it pre-pandemic? Okay,
Yeah. Everything's based on when the pandemic happened.
right? It is,
But I
isn't it?
remember doing that live and in person, not online, so. But, yeah, Reggie, and one of the things Anne Marie's doing is she's kind of comparing costs. And if she can get a better deal through Gov Deals or surplus, as opposed to staying with Enterprise, she's going to do that.
I just thought that, when they gave the presentation, they were saying that if we get better vehicles, then the cost between the 2 vehicles would be less money. And, we got a 17 or 15, one 8 years old and the other one 10 years old, and we got a surplus. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not going against the surplus, but I'm saying that accountability is going to be when they come make a presentation. You should hold them accountable for the presentation they're making. Now, I got a call all the day asking me how many new cars we're going to have in Mills County riding up down the road. And that got pretty interesting because they noticed things like it's because it costs money. One way or the other, they cost more money going from a car to an SUV. So if we don't get on the back end, that's how it was introduced to us. And I don't think we use Enterprise. Do we use Enterprise now?
We're still using them on our fleet.
And
Yeah, we're still using them for our
See,
fleet
we didn't
replacement.
have a presentation from them to, I know we had it for the last couple of years. At first we did because they was showing us about the trading the vehicle. They was actually showing us on the cost factor, how it would save us money by continuously getting these different vehicles. Now, I don't know if we got the same thing or not, or we just taking things for granted how it's gonna be. But, you take a 17, a vehicle 8 years old, and we got it that haven't been wrecked and you be driving it every day, then you gotta have accountability on the driver. Because we can't be throwing away taxpayers' money and just running through vehicles like 15, and you say it's so bad a shape that we don't want to sit in it. I mean, you got something, you take care of it, not just because the county is giving it to you. So, to you, so I'm just looking at it, not fussing about it. I'm just saying, just let you know, all eyes on you, even ones in the community are watching things like this.
Do other counties give vehicles to the jail, or the only ones, because we're just right here beside them, or have you ever known?
I've never, I'm wondering if we gave them the first Charger, because that's why they were asking about the Charger. We used to drive Chargers here.
I'm for surplusing them all, personally.
And not transferring one to the jail?
Yeah, some of them all. I mean, we're talking about $6,000, and it's a regional thing over there.
That one was going to be for less because of the windshield. So, I mean, and last time they did range from 2,000 to 6,000, so.
I mean, there's other counties involved there, maybe they have a surplus vehicle as well, too. I don't know, it just seems like it's riding on Middlesex
Look,
again.
but I don't have it handy.
And Reggie, if you'd like us, we can reach out to Enterprise and have them update that presentation and come back.
Your presentation.
Very
You know,
good.
I think that'd be good, it's just information.
Yep.
Too, so you can make a decision based on information.
All right, very good. We'll make a note of that. I see Shanae writing it down.
Okay, so we're either going to surplus the vehicles or we table it till the next discussion. What's your flavor here?
I'm fine with auctioning them all off, but that's just,
I agree with Bill, auction them all off, get some money back there, we don't throw it away. Get them rid of them.
Okay? So,
Would
go ahead.
auction them off, is that, are we saying that is to declare them surplus or to go
Yes.
through gov deals?
Yes, you'd have to do that.
Okay,
I think the intention then is declare the four identified vehicles as surplus and authorize the sale of vehicles.
right, okay.
That's the motion? You making that?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris?
yes.
Mr. Crittenden?
Yes,
Mr. Don Harris?
Yes, motion's approved. Okay. Okay, Ms. Riccardi, item number B, Extension Office MOU.
Hold on, this looks too, there we go. The board is asked to authorize a memorandum of understanding with the Virginia Cooperative Extension. Back in 2016, the board signed an agreement with VCE to identify the terms of agreement between the VCE and Middlesex County. Back almost a year ago, we were notified that they were updating their MOUs to have consistent terms and terminology across all their agencies. And their contract from 2016 was satisfactory to me, and it is continuing very similar to what it was. I've attached both of them, we've reviewed both of them, and we certainly recommend that the board authorize the county administrator sign the memorandum of understanding with the Virginia Cooperative Extension. And yes, actually, they did send me that MOU probably back in July, and I forgot. So I was supposed to bring that back to you several months ago. Since then, I did make one change. Their MOU referenced provides secretarial services, and we don't do that, never have, so we removed that. Everybody was in agreement on that. Other than that, it was just a very simple saying that we provide them space. In fact, I'll show you what we do. That's the old one. This is the new one.
And Mr. Chairman, while Anne Marie's looking for that provision, we have with us today the state's best extension agent.
That's
Frank
true.
Long, who is hiding in the back like a good Baptist should. But he's here, and we are working with them. We're looking again for potential space to offer the extension service because we have an interested party interested in renting all of the PDC's office space. So we'll be working with Frank again on, hopefully they won't be as nomadic in the years to come, and we'll get them a place where they can light and put down permanent roots. But we do have an party interested in renting the PDC building. We'll have more to report on that next month.
Thank you. Is this agreement renewable is it a time-based renewal process on it?
The term of this was ongoing, as I recall. Let me grab it up real quick.
I mean, do we have to approve this every year is my
No.
question?
No, it is ongoing.
Okay. Okay. And County Attorney, Ms. Lewis, are you okay with what we decided not to add to it, secretarial services, I think, or any other changes on there? You good with that?
Yes, sir. Anne Marie and I reviewed those changes and talked about it, and I've reviewed it, and I have no further changes.
I got a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Now, they get the building, you don't get any funds from it? No funds from it. So we be doing 4 years and get nothing. You just said a few minutes ago, we can rent it out, right? And then what lead us to the purpose to make sure it's in Middlesex County?
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, say that again.
We don't receive any type of funds from them at all.
No, sir, this is a service
Then
we
could you
provide to the
explain to me
community.
why we are doing what we are doing? I fully don't understand.
Okay. You're probably not going to like this response, but here it comes. I think the way counties have always hosted extension services across the state, that was part of the agreement way back when the state said, if you want an extension service through Virginia Tech's program, what have you, you've got to provide them space. And it's just something that counties have always done.
If we didn't provide them space, remember, we also fund them. So we
Yeah.
fund them to the tune of
And there's a
$27,000 a
contribution.
year, something like that. So the price of them would go up if they had to pay us for the rent. So it's almost a offset.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll give you, it's recent history, but it's still history in Middlesex. The extension office was probably more popular than the county administrator and the county staff because there were more people coming to it. That's changed over the years. But it's still a very valuable service for rural counties in the Commonwealth, and I think that's part of the agreement. Frank, am I hitting that about right? There you go.
Ever heard that saying, what have you done for me lately? Now, I just asked the question, in trying to get a better understanding of exactly the agreement that we sit here and have to make. And, you're saying 4 years and to mean more than administrator at one time or any time. So then, you got something to say because I just like to, like yourself, I would wish you would speak something and just let us know, from a county standpoint, the things that you do and in relationship to Middlesex County, how you helping us because we're going to vote on something and say what you do is what? I just like to know.
Right. Well,
Well, that mean nobody know but me then.
Well, Frank, you did do a presentation during the budget process. Yeah, remember he did do a presentation during the budget process when he asked for his again, I'm sorry, that's about $28,000.
Send me something so I can see exactly what you know.
Thank you, Frank. Sorry, the
No
podium won't
problem.
pick it up.
Mr. Williams, the main reason for the MOU is for the financial agreement right there. It's just that clear line of communication. Generally, myself as an extension agent, my salary is split amongst most of the counties on the Middle Peninsula. So I get a portion from King George, King William, Essex, Middlesex, Matthews, and Gloucester. I am the agent that covers Middlesex, Matthews, and Gloucester. So those are the three counties I spend most of my time in. I believe in Middlesex, if I had to put a percentage on where I spend most of my educational programming, it's about 70 to 75% in Middlesex. I want to say 25 to Matthews, and then 5 in Gloucester right now, just because of the way the educational programming and the needs are having to be met. And that's generally because Middlesex is a smaller unit. There's already about 5 employees down in Gloucester, there's only 2 in Matthews, and there's only 2 full-time Middlesex employees. And so that's myself and my AFA, Roxanne Johnson, along with our part-time county split 4-H agent. So I know you said the same thing to me at the budget meeting about getting you newsletters and write-ups and all of that good information, but I will send you an email tomorrow. I apologize, I dropped the ball on that one, getting a hold to you. But the MOU, it just lays out the specifications right there for how much the county provides percentage-wise. So you're not paying 100%, it's a split amongst all the counties. That's how I'm funded. For what I do, I provide educational programming to my 3 counties, Middlesex, Matthews, and Gloucester, running around, finding out the needs. I have the situational analysis report on all the needs that the stakeholders locally are looking for, educational topics from gardening. I do aquaculture programming, home gardening series, integrated pest management stuff. I do on-farm plot research with local farmers. We've got 2 corn plots going in this year to look at variety seed trials to give good profit and return on investment information to our producers locally in order to help them get a leg up, especially with all these input prices that are on the rise with fertilizer and everything of that nature. But that's just scratching the surface. I mean, I dive into a lot more
You
topics.
also, like I see some of the beans and corn, you do the little section on the side?
The plots, yes, sir.
The plots.
Mhm.
Okay.
I work with a lot
They're
of
coming
seed
to me now.
companies
Also,
doing
you
that.
say you do a class at the schools to teach them,
My 4-H agent has in-school classes, educational programming. I do a on-farm farm day with Corbin Hall Farms, getting kids to come out and walk through some stations, see some farm equipment, talk to farmers directly about what they do, what they see on the road. Those students take tours to oyster seed holdings in Matthews County, which is an oyster hatchery, to learn about careers in aquaculture and how oysters are grown and how well they benefit the Chesapeake Bay. So a lot of topics mixed in. I won't say I cover one thing, I cover a lot of things.
I got a question too. Do they still do the 4-H camps? I remember
Yes, sir.
when I was coming up, we used to go down to Jamestown, they had a 4-H camp, and they teach you and learn children a lot of things.
It's been a slow year for us. I think our current number is 13. Not as slow as it's been in the past. Our record since I've been here, my 5 years, is 18 campers. I do know we have 13 campers and 2, what are the counselors? The counselors this year from Middlesex going, but we are in partnership with Gloucester. So Gloucester, Middlesex, and Essex all go to Jamestown 4-H camp at the same time.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
But we're still doing that.
But I remember making a little footstool with wood and you weave it back and forth. And I don't know if I still got it or not, but I remember having it.
Classes there range from fishing to
we did all that
hiking, canoeing, all of that.
And they teach you how to swim too if you didn't learn how to swim, so it's very beneficial.
I heard from Heather's father that the 4-H camp inspired her to go to law school because she got in a little bit of trouble down there.
No, I definitely learned about sleeping without air conditioning and the value of a box fan. No, but I went to that camp as well. And in fact, I've been to your office many, many times growing up, the extension office in 4-H. It was very valuable for me growing up. It still is. Thank you.
But I'm on the point of Matt and us moving around. I do understand that you do not receive any funding with us. So again, hopefully we'll get to a permanent space, but I understand there's a lot of things moving around. And since we are only a small office of 2, we're able to move for y'all. So y'all can make some money off of renting out that building.
I threatened to move in with Anne Marie and share an office with her and just give you my whole suite up there, but she said, no, we can't have that for some reason.
Y'all do too much important work.
Right.
But we'll get it worked out.
Hey, thank you, man, for what you do. I just want more communication so they are,
Sir.
the county is aware of what you're doing. So when you see that, hey, you the man that does this. If somebody has something, I want to know something, we'll see it somewhere, whether it's in the paper or where's that this is what it is. So basically, I'm asking questions to make sure everybody knows. So sometimes you got to ask questions for somebody else.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Okay, back on the discussion. Is there a motion for approval of the MOU?
Yes, I'll make a motion for that.
Thank you, Mr. Jesse made the motion.
A second.
Second by Mr. Bill Harris. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden?
Yes.
Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris?
Yes, motion's approved for the current MOU.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Approval of 2026 revised budget calendar. Mr. Walker? Do we need to do that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is more of a formality. We've already made the changes, and we alerted the media to the effect of the changes. We added a work session on March 25th for further discussion with the sheriff and the Commonwealth's attorney. Also, we adjusted the public hearing schedule for the budget, as was originally kind of tentatively or to be determined proposed in the original budget calendar. So this is more of a formality than anything. We're just asking and recommended the board adopt this. As we've already let the media know, that's what we're doing. We've advertised the budget as well for Monday, April 25th. That was it.
Okay, and the 28th is where we finalized any revisions for the county budget.
Deliberate, discuss, debate, of course, and make any revisions, changes. And as Wayne has already pointed out, we've advertised the budget at a higher level. You can always come down. Many counties around us are doing the same thing, but you can't go up after you advertise your budget. So it's kind of where it is. You can come down, but you can't go up.
We can do that on Monday, the 21st.
28th.
You can't do it on the 21st. What we
The
got on the
21st is the public hearing. That's for the opportunity for the public to give their views, and of course, us to do a presentation. Historically, the board's refrained from a lot of discussion on the 21st. You've held that till the 28th, but, of course, y'all could discuss it if you chose, but you cannot take action on it on the 21st. You got to wait 7 days to take action.
Okay.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, and just clear something up for me. What are we doing on the 25th? Meeting?
That's the March 25th work session we had last Tuesday. Is that a typo?
Okay,
Okay, that's a typo. We need to fix that. Let's fix that typo live and in person and adopt it with the typo corrected. Thank
Okay.
you.
all right. Just wanted to make sure we were all clear that we weren't meeting on the 25th, correct?
We are not meeting on 25th. Monday, the 28th.
Okay, so what do we need, a motion for the adoption or the changes of the calendar?
A motion to adopt the revised budget calendar, the FY 2026 revised budget calendar, please.
Need a motion for that, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Crittenden. I need a second.
Second it.
Thank you, Mr. Jesse. Any further discussion? Everybody's looked over the dates. It's nothing different from our last meeting that we changed a couple of things. Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bill Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Crittenden,
Yes.
Mr. Jesse,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Don Harris.
Yes, motion to adopt the new calendar is approved. All right, moving right along, citizens' appointments, Anne Marie Riccardi.
We don't have anything at this time.
Okay, and I'm assuming that the current vacancy was Mr. Henry Easton leaving, correct? And is that district specific? Or
Yeah, the Jamaica District, yes.
Jamaica District?
Yeah, I'll have somebody.
All right, well, that's great.
All right.
Wonderful. Administrative updates, we have the cigarette tax, staff reports, which are reports only.
If I may,
You may.
may I jump in, Matt? I wanted to at least advise the board where we were with the ERP. Several months ago, actually, it's been almost, well, several months ago, the Board of Supervisors authorized us to enter into a contract with Barry Dunn to coordinate the development of a RFP for the countywide system software. I wanted to catch you up to where we were. We're working very hard, an amazing experience, by the way, that I could not have done. I don't think we would have been able to accomplish this without the assistance of Barry Dunn, because this is so complex with so many moving parts. We are meeting every other week with Barry Dunn and your lead departments, which includes the treasurer, the commissioner of revenue, schools, and IT, and on occasion, the planning department. We've had on-site interviews, Zoom meetings, emails, even texts to discuss what we're doing. And this morning, maybe it was last night we received the first draft of the ERP. The RFP, the request for proposals. It is over 100 pages because it is that complex, because there is so much integrating into each other. Each of us, the people I just named, the Commissioner of Revenue, Treasurer, me, the schools, and planning, have to edit this, and that is add data to it. For example, how many journal entries do you make a year? How many position actions do you take a year? How many retirements do you have a year? So it's just data after data that's got to get put into this document so that our bidders know what they're bidding on. I proposed a date to issue it is April 28th. And then we're going to have a Zoom pre-conference meeting in the beginning of May, probably May 6th. The due date for these is probably the beginning. Again, we're still flexing on the dates, but we're expecting them back the beginning of June, middle of June. And we'll be reviewing them perhaps even within demonstrations after that. So again, this is a long process that's all being managed, although we're doing a lot of the legwork because your staff knows the data, knows what we're doing. The legwork such as the Zoom meeting and the pre-bid conferences and the demonstrations is all being managed by your contractor, Barry Dunn. So anyway, nothing big there. I just want to let you know that it's proceeding as expected.
In Mill-Six, we have a unified treasurer. All the revenue funds to one place. Is that correct, Matt?
General
All
fund
revenue.
revenues, yes, sir. Any grant funded, like different special funds like the sheriff may have, that would be outside general fund.
Okay,
But any general fund revenue is definitely.
that is funded. I wonder, could we, with this new software, could it be put in different columns? I guess I'm saying it right. And this new revenue it follows in a uniform treasurer, just like your hand, for instance, got 5 fingers on it. We got a uniform treasurer in the county, and that way we can track all the money. And when we ask for a report, you don't have to look too far because you'll see what's coming in from the start, I guess, and you also would see what you're spending based on a computer. So if I ask a question, we wouldn't have to take so long to find it. And the only reason I'm saying is because we got a uniform treasurer, and that's how I see uniform, because it's going to one base. It's not really, we can see the split up, and
Oh.
you can look at it.
Oh,
and see.
absolutely. The funds are still split up. So when you
We can
know
see
where
it.
they're coming in and you know where they're from, but what you've said is
colonized.
so relevant because we absolutely are looking for improved reporting. You're not complaining, I don't think you're complaining about how the money's coming in. Not a problem. It's how we're able to report it back to you. And this particular information is just hard to report back to you right now.
You know, because of the
It's
report
hard
itself.
Let me revise and put a finer point on that, Emery. And I don't want to disparage Bright and the financial software publicly, but Bright can do anything and everything you want it to do on the local level. It's not as visually interpretive, if that makes it. That may not be the word I'm looking for, Emery.
It's more than that.
Yeah, but Bright can drill down into all the data you want. It's just sometimes a little hard to put it in a form that's easily understood and easily digestible and communicatable to the public. Like, for instance, our budget forms that we walk through every year during our staff report, or budget work sessions. They've got all the data there for 3 years, plus what we spent to date and what we're proposing or what the departments wanted. All of it's right there. It's just a little hard to discern because it's a numbers and word wall. And Emery's giving you some examples of what Bright looks like. It's not as user-friendly, let's put it that way. And we've attended several years ago, over 10 years ago, we attended a training seminar at Bright where they were trying to convert it into more of a graphical user interface, a GUI interface. Just, I don't think it ever really got off the ground, or maybe we just never embraced it locally because the people who use Bright on a day-to-day basis were comfortable with it. They knew what it could do. If they ever needed it to do something, they could call them and get a person to come down, write a program that would work. Having something that's a little bit more user-friendly for the board, I think, is what you're going to get with this new financial package.
And for example,
Yep.
like I'm showing you on the screen right now, this is where the money is right now. This is the report that comes directly off the system that shows you that right now you've got, and I'm going to pick a number right here, $6 million in this checking account. That doesn't do you any information. That's not the information, but that's what the system gives you because this is what the treasurer needs to balance. What we're looking for and what you'll be looking for is more of a summary of how much is in the general fund, what have we got, what did we spend that month. And while this kind of does that with debits and credits, I don't think anybody around this room, aside from me, actively speaks debit credit. You do?
Not as much. And, I think, once you look at something all the time, you get used to it, that's the way you do it. I come in an area where you had check and balance. Check and balance is simplified. You get cash in.
That's what this is.
Yeah,
By
I
the way,
know,
that's
but
what you're
see,
looking at.
it's some of the things on here that really y'all got in. I don't care, about it, but I do care about the intake, what you spend, and what's coming out. When we do an audit, we don't do an auditor to say what you bought. We just do an audit to say you balance your checkbook, and,
No.
well, basically, because I asked the guy when he was staying
No,
there.
the auditors do too. They check. I want to
They
make
don't know
before you.
what you spend it on.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
How
I'd like
many-
to see that
Wait,
audit
wait,
then.
wait. How many invoices do you provide? So they do a spot check. I don't want that one to go because they do a spot check of about every 6 items to make sure that we do what we say we're going to do, that it's paid to the people that's supposed to be paid. If the invoice says pay Lee and Associates, that we paid Lee and Associates. So they do delve into that. That's why they're
No,
here for
I'm
so
not
long.
even talking about, you're paying, I'm just talking about what you're buying. I used to, we're buying what you're paying. And I'm just looking at it, just like I said, I came from earlier, check and balance. And I understand we made it a little bit harder than you simplify, and all I'm talking about, you got revenue coming in, you got revenue going out. At the end of the year, you can look at it blank point and see exactly what you got coming in. You can see what you have coming in all year, and you can separate the grants, and you can see what you had spent. And if you look at it, just like balancing the budget, you define balancing the budget. You spend, in other words, the money that you spend and the revenue that you receive. If both of them meet themselves, you are balancing the budget. Now, let me simplify that a little bit. If I'm not balancing the budget, and I said this one time before, the revenue is being asked for and the revenue that is being received, we'll take it, let me simplify it again, we'll take it out the savings account to say that numbers match. Okay? And a lot of times, that's what we do. We don't say, somebody's gonna have to tighten up or we're not gonna do it. And how I see it sometimes, it's good to be able to balance the budget, but it really don't make a difference if you're gonna take it out of fund balance or whatever fund you're gonna take to say the numbers meet. And whether I'm wrong or right, no, you spend more money than you got and you don't have a savings account, sooner or later you can't spend nothing, okay? And that's all I'm saying, but this new computer thing, I don't
Yeah.
wanna have to look it up. I wanna hit the icon, I'm gonna get somebody to look at it for me, hit that icon, and I can see
We all wanna help you in that
exactly what's
regard.
going on. We gonna have that?
Well, yeah, and if
I
we
just
could,
want it on my phone, because nobody else wants it.
Mr. Chairman, if we could take a couple more moments on this, if you don't mind, can you go back up to the check registry, the accounts payable list?
And while she's looking for that.
Under treasurer's report, Emery.
The software cost for this project, don't we have that in either set aside or from a budget standpoint or capital improvement? I can't remember which. Don't we have it somewhere?
Yes, I will answer that.
It's in the capital improvements.
Capital
We
improvements?
put
Yeah,
we put
for this year.
$105,000 in capital improvement for next year, not knowing what the cost is going to be.
Right, okay.
It's on page 42, Emery, or
Right.
part of it's on page 42.
Oh.
40, 42. This is something we've done forever. That's every single check, every single bill that's got paid for the month. So I need to ask, are you referring to us or are you referring to the schools? And
I'm
wanting to
just,
see
I'm
some of
just
their-
referring to the systems.
I got you.
You know, I don't want to point at nobody, but the schools.
No, it's fine.
But the
It's fine.
schools do have a lot of, like somebody always tell me, got a lot of moving parts. I see you get revenue come in, you get
Right.
revenue out, that's the
Well,
school.
that's why I
But
asked
also, every other place have the same thing. And when somebody tell me, I found some money I can do something with, then how you find it, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
If it's not, how
They've
you
had
find it.
something budgeted that they may not have needed it, or come to find out they didn't need it, or it didn't go as planned, and they found it that way.
And like Brother Jesse said, I remember when I first got on the board, said if you don't spend it buying candy and you ask for candy, you send it back to the fund balance.
Yeah.
Mr. Jesse, that's what you said.
Well, we even, and along that same line, Reggie, we even looked at, for a very brief time, setting up the school system with their own contingency account, where, okay, it's not budgeted for any specific purpose, but it's there for contingencies, and you can use that money instead of coming back before the board and asking for it from fund balance or whatever. That didn't last long. It didn't get funded long. So, but I hear you, and
Okay.
I think a lot of what you want will be available with the new financial software. If it's not, Emery's got a lot of explaining to do.
You know, she
Because
had
she's
me-
promised a
I
lot.
stopped by the office, she had me straight.
I'm being funny. But you
You
know,
saw me
it's kinda like, the way I'll say it about Bright, the information's there, but if it's not presented in a fashion that's easily understood, then what good's it doing you? You need to have it be able to be presented in such a fashion where it's understood. And you can work with citizens, say, here's what Parks and Rec spent last month. Here's what Parks and Rec's budget is. Here's the main programs. Here's what they spent last year, the year before. And you can pull it out of this number wall that government bureaucrats that speak debits and credits like Anne Marie can understand and they can tell you, but it should be something they should be able to discernible. When I taught school, we called it putting the cookies on the shelf where the kids can reach them sometimes. That's not meant to be defaming or anything like that. It's just citizens have a right to know, and they need to be able to understand it. And it's sometimes our job to make it understandable. And this software should do that. If it doesn't, it's Anne Marie's fault.
Correct.
Okay. Moving right along, item number 7, county attorney update. Do you have anything, Ms. Lewis?
Well, Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I know the county administrator has one, and then Kevin, did you want to come back up and do a quick plug, or you want to let, about potential events that might be coming up?
There you go. Yeah, thanks.
Sorry, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but since everybody's here, I thought it might be helpful.
No, just real quick, I got going and I forgot to mention, we have a tentative first connection, I'm using air quotes because we're actually doing the first connection today, but it could be a photo op, and just wanted to see what the board's wishes were as far as attending the photo op, should it come to pass. Like I said, I wish I had a locked-in date, I don't. If it's going to be more than 2, then of course we'll have to publicize it. So, do you guys have any druthers? Would all of you like to be there? I would love for you to be there. But, that's kind of where we're at as far as that goes. If it were next Thursday, who might be able to come?
It's easier for y'all to say publicly and tell the media that 5 of you are going to attend this event
Okay.
than to, and you still need to give notice. It's for you.
I believe you're kind of working with a moving target there.
A little bit.
And maybe it'd be easier on you if 2 of us went, is what I'm wondering.
Which 2?
Well, that's the thing. I think, why don't I do it this way? Why don't I assume everybody, and then that way I'll do my due diligence and make sure we publicize it, and then that'll make it easier for everybody.
Yeah.
That's a good plan.
And I'll make sure that once we do get locked in, I'll share it with everybody, so everybody has an
That's good.
opportunity.
That's good.
Okay. And
See,
if-
that way
if
you're
it's-
covered all the way around.
Yeah, and if it's not next Thursday, then it'll be.
Okay,
And we're going to let Larry know anyway, keep him in the loop.
okay, good.
I don't want to blow it either.
All right?
County
Thank you,
attorney-
Kevin.
Ms. Lewis, you have anything else?
I have one.
I do not, but I know Matt is dying to steal my time, so Mr. Chairman, I yield my time to the county
I'm
administrator.
not stealing her time. Dave Kretz is going to help me with this one, next one. We got an email late Friday that actually is really good news. It's from our contractor who's doing the dredging project. They are thinking that as it stands, going through the project, they're about 30% done according to the email, that they may have some extra capacity in the spoil site. Well, that's great news. I'm going to be working with the contractor, Seaward, I guess, and with possibly doing a little bit more since we have a grant that pays for the cost of the dredging. I've asked Louis to reach out to the port authorities. He has. Port authorities got back to us and said, listen, we've given you the grant monies. If you can store a little bit more and everything permit-wise is good, you're good to go. I talked to Louis on my way back to this meeting from the Outer Banks. He said, yeah, the port authorities was very responsive. If they've got capacity and they can do more, it's up to the county to let them. We don't know how much. It's somewhere between 12,000 and 14,000 cubic yards, so it's a substantial amount. We do have a contract at $53 per cubic yard, so y'all can do so y'all can do the math. I'm going to be sitting down with Scott, and as they go day to day to see the depths and the volumes that they're getting, what I'd like to ask the board for is a little bit of pre-authorization to work with him on doing a little bit more, maybe getting down to 8.5 feet in some areas if we have the capacity. That will mean a slight change in the cost, but the cost is 100% reimbursable by the Port Authority. So it's not going to cost the citizens anything after we get reimbursed in July. That was all I had, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not necessarily, unless I have to take a vote on it, is everybody in compliance with empowering Matt and Dave
Yeah.
to do what they need to do to utilize the complete grant money that is
And
available?
I do apologize for the shortness of notice on this, but we just got the email Friday. Yep. Don't make Heather fuss at you. You got to talk into that mic.
I know. They do need an answer by the end of the week, they said. So we would have to work those volumes so it doesn't go over any amounts. We want to try to recoup some of our upfront costs too, so.
Everybody good with the consensus for that? Wonderful.
Bill, I think Bill's got a question.
Doing a small calculation, that's under $100,000 additional.
No, it's more than that.
It could
Yeah, it's
be
more like-
substantially more of that.
More like 500 to
It's more like-
700,000.
It's more like an additional 700,000.
Yeah.
$53 per cubic yard, or
Is
54.
it 52?
52, I'm sorry. It's been a
$52
while
cubic yard.
that we've negotiated that out.
So we would have to, when we go into this, we have to keep this under that amount.
Yes.
We would have to make sure that we don't go over our amount.
Yeah, our thresholds, we applied for the grant for 54,000 cubic yards and got funding for that. So anything under that amount, we're good. And I talked to Louis, and he said, from his review of the permit, as long as we dredge higher than 10-foot mean low water, we're good.
Yeah, we're
That won't
okay
throw us in any kind
permit-wise.
of permitting problems. There was really no way to tell how much material was going to come in there until we really get going. And Scott's alerted us. We're taking decisive action on it, bringing it to the board tonight. We'll stay within our parameters. I just didn't want to do it without y'all knowing we were wanting to do it. And I kind of wanted pre-authorization to allow me and Dave and I to work with the contractor.
You have that.
And this is much better news than the alternative if they came back to us and said, we don't have enough room to get what we said.
That's right.
So this is a lot better, that was also a fear too, so.
Are you
that's-
guys
that's
gonna?
good news.
Your decision on how you want to do it, but I would assume you would at some point let the stakeholders group in Deltaville
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
we're doing and what we're not doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to work through Louis and the PDC. They still have the contract handling and dredge for us, but this is a decision that the county board and the staff needed to make.
Okay, and we're empowering both you guys to do the additional dredging, providing it falls under the grant that we have.
Permit and grant, yep.
And I wouldn't skirt so close to the inline there. Give yourself enough margin. You, okay?
Yep.
You with me on that?
Absolutely.
And once you have that pretty well defined, you can educate the stakeholders, and we're not looking for any advice from them. We're just letting them know what we're doing.
And it's our intention to give an after-action report at the May meeting, which at this point in time, it looks like I'm going to win the bet with the county attorney that they would get all this done in April. So I will be lording that over and giving a after-action report to the board.
Okay, wonderful.
So far, everything's going fairly smooth.
Wonderful.
I think this is going to be good news for the stakeholders.
Oh, yeah, it will be, absolutely. It was what they were looking for, but at the time, there was some constraints of what we could do and what we couldn't do, and we were on a time frame on that too, if I remember correctly. So, yes, they should handle that very well unless they want to ask for another 100,000 cubic yards.
Let's cut that mic.
That might be a little bit difficult to swim that current,
Yes,
but anyway, thank you very much, guys, and
Yep.
yes, please move forward with that.
Understood.
All right. Okay, any unfinished business at this point, or new business? Oh, okay. Wonderful. Matters presented by the board, and I'll start with Mr. Jesse.
Well, PDC, we already taken care of. Y'all heard that program on that. I did also went to the opening of the sports complex of the baseball, softball, and t-ball, and all that was very well attended. And I guess about 400 people there, including the kids and parents, and it was very nice. Weather was good. And also, I did attend the Oyster Foundation meeting, and right now they're going to pick the Grand Marshal and Captain. They're working on it. They got some names out there, but they got to make sure that, they accept it. And that's all for my meeting.
Wonderful.
One more.
Yeah.
I did go to the River County Community Foundation meeting over in Kilmarnock, and the deadline was the 31st of March, because now we're in April. So now all the granting process, they'll know once they look at all the applications. And I think you'll know that in sometime in May.
Cool. Thank you, Mr. Jesse. Mr. Crittenden?
No, the only thing, Mr. Jesse and myself, we attended the Emergency Services meeting, and we met with the new medical director. And I'm really excited about, I think he is going to be a great OMD. He has, he's very much hands-on, and he's very available. And so I think he's going to be a real benefit as far as our first responders.
Wonderful. Other than answering emails and meeting at the Sheriff's Department and other type of meetings, nothing really to report from me. Mr. Bill Harris?
I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Williams?
I'm just going to echo something Mr. Briggs was saying, and we've been working on, on 68, and which is Bumpus Lane, and we haven't gotten none done, and I'll be asking the guy from VDOT to see what they can do, and also 619, because the road has got bevel, and it's cracked right straight down the middle of it, and it looked like it's being overlooked. And also in 620, and when we shut the dam down on Star Mountain Road, all the traffic started coming through that area, which passed the schools. And they went down and asphalt down by the schools and just stopped right after they passed that. But that road keeps on down and goes to 619, and it need to be something done. And I know that we've been, trying to get something done, and I've been mentioning it over and over again, and I will continue to say something until, something is finally done. They do have a 40-mile speed limit on that road. And I mean, they fly down there. I said that to say also on Dirt Bridge Road, when we mentioned something about that, and they just put signs up for 55 miles an hour saying what they couldn't do. And we have had, over the period of time, on 619, we have accidents. I mean, bad accidents down where you drop down the hill at it before you get to the hill at blind sight. So I really feel, and I know, something need to be done. And the second thing, I'm gonna talk about the tree. Everybody know about the tree, right? Heather, you know about the tree? For 5 years, I've been trying to get the tree to cut down.
The tree of life? Yes, I do. No.
Been
Sorry, we just
trying
watched
for
them
5 years to get this tree cut down, by, the farm place down at Locust Hill. We come out the old Bridge Foundation. And, you know, we kept talking, you get answers that, you know, it belongs to the old lady, and she didn't want to cut it down, excuse me how I said that, and she didn't want to do anything. And we stayed on top of it, and finally we come find out that maybe the state didn't do the homework, or they come find out that it belongs to the state. Then after, you know, midnight, he stood in front and said, we finally got the work order to cut it down. So actually, guys working with VDOT, saw them over at Banner at the store, 6 of them sitting in the truck. I said, have y'all got the work order to cut the tree down? And he said, no, you know, we haven't got any work order to cut the tree down. I said, man, it's a work permit out there. What's the problem? He said, I don't know. They haven't told me to do anything. I said, y'all could go cut the tree down. But lo and behold, I guess we hired somebody. We state, we pay taxes. We hired somebody that normally we talk about saving money. I don't know what it caused them to cut that tree down. I don't think VDOT done it, but I don't know. But they cut that tree down, and I guess some people are happy. And you ride by it, you don't see it no more, so you don't worry about it. But if you be consistent about what you want to do, and you don't vary from it, you know, right is right and wrong is wrong. Sometimes you get wrong. But if you're right, it happened, and that did happen. It did cut the tree down, and I'm just thankful, and everybody else is thankful it passed by, and it didn't fall on nobody. Because you going down the road, and you look at that tree, you so aware of it, say, look, if this tree fall, because you don't prepare yourself on what's going to happen now. I say, that tree fall, do I go right or left? I have did this. If my Chevy fast enough and she start dropping, I can hit it and drive through it. But anyhow, Elaine McCladdy, she called me and asked me, what can she do? I said, the best thing you do, we're going to get something, go to directly to VDOT, the call number, and they're going to give you a work order. And then that's how it happened. Then McKnight came and somebody up Fairfax that probably left Middlesex probably realized. And I think he done a good job of doing something to make it happen. But it did call VDOT when you wanted that number. And that'll give you a work order number. And beans, all of us are numbers now. So it made it happen. So that's all I got.
Wonderful. Go ahead.
Matt, I think you and I had a brief discussion about Wake Landing and the mooring to our pier down there.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps maybe we need to put some signs up that not allow a mooring.
Thank you, Bill, that we did. We have an issue with same issue that we've had down in Whitings Creek sometimes. Some of our friendly contractors, God bless them, want to moor up their barges to the pier. Pier wasn't designed to hold that kind of weight. If we had a big storm come up, the barge would take the pier with it. So Bill mentioned it to me, and I thought it was a good idea. We just need to get y'all's blessing, order some signs up. I want to do it countywide. Just say, look, don't moor up overnight. We'll come up with some language just to keep these heavier boats, barges from mooring up to these county piers.
I didn't see it myself, but someone alluded to the fact that some state boats that are doing some inspections of the bridge are even tying up there.
Well, now, if a state boat messes the bridge up, I know who to call on that. We get.
While we're at Wake Boat
It's a little
Landing,
different.
While we're at Wake Boat Landing, yeah, we got to get somebody in there locally to take some dirt out of it. It's shutting down. I see
Yeah.
the state did go down there and leveled out the parking lot and all that, but we have a nice parking lot, but you can't put your boat in.
I have a meeting scheduled with the DWR folks, I think on April 14th, that Monday, and we're going to discuss it. I have a feeling the answer is going to be no, and in lieu of that, or I just don't want to wait around to hear what I think the answer is going to be. I've got Louis looking into what it's going to take for us to get the permits reinitiated for the site. The last time it was dredged, when I think John Kuntz got a coalition of the willing, and he did his own bathymetric survey. I think that was the last time that could have been done under that maintenance permit. And they probably bent the rules then, but we need to get the permits redone.
So to recap, you're working on two fronts on the project.
Working on two fronts on it, yes, sir. And,
Thank you.
if we've got some people interested, it's really fine, nice beach sand. It's good white sand. So it should be, I would hope, fairly easy to find a contractor who would want it. So, yep. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, Reggie's spot on, just for the general public here and for the record. If you or I call a resident engineer, that used to be back in the day how VDOT functioned. You'd call them, they'd make things happen. They would report to the boards, and they'd make things happen. It's all about that central office now with that 1-800 number, because when you call that 1-800 number and they issue a work order on it, that's time-stamped, and it has to be followed up on within a certain period of time, or I guess it turns a color, I don't know. But it's all tracked through that 1-800 system. You don't think it is, but they seem to take that a lot more serious than the, hey, go take a look at this, because no one has documentation of those phone calls. But they do have documentation of that 1-800 number exchange from the central clearinghouse. So any person having any issues with VDOT roads or whatnot, one of the first things I advise them to do is call that 1-800 number, get you a work ticket going. Then so Reggie can see them at the parking lot and say, hey, y'all got a work ticket. Y'all go take care of this. And I think they think Reggie works for VDOT, so they just did what he said.
Right.
But that's okay. We'll take it, won't we, man? That's right. That's right. But yeah, well, that 1-800 number is the way to go. It really is.
Two items, just for thought. I would like you to, when you talk to Mr. McKnight, Stormont Road, and I think they've just done the eastern side of that, correct? Of the dam.
And did a nice job there, they did.
Right. I'd just like you to ask, is the western side of the dam on both those, you know, the front end is traffic for the golf course, for Piankitank Shores, et cetera, et cetera. The western side, everybody's using that a detour to go to the dump. And there are some spots there that may need to be looked at, so if you would,
Will do.
if you
Yeah.
put that on your list as well. Fuel for thought, when they start the construction of the new bridge, I'm not sure when that is slated to start, it might be interesting for us to question what some of that concrete, if the county could get any of that, particularly in what I'm thinking about as we move forward with restoration of boat landings, or if we need any type of heavy material to keep sand from moving, or whatever. It might be interesting to start planting the seed now that we might be interested in some of that.
Yeah, roger that.
Okay.
Make a note of that, please, Shanae. Trigger my memory. That's my memory over there.
Okay, County Attorney, do we need to do the public comment section before or after we come back?
I think you should go ahead and do it now, please.
Okay. With that, is there any public comment?
I know y'all getting tired of looking at me. Lewis Briggs, you know, I just realized it made a difference when I came in here today, because I just learned a whole lot of things. I don't know who put the bill for that road down to the golf course, but they did a good job, beautiful job. That's how I like to see Locust Hill, the same way, 619. But let me tell you something. Last year I was in here, I remember just like it was today, that the money was supposed to be appropriated for that, come from 33 side on around to 619. This order came in here by VDOT. They said they were gonna pave the road and everything. But now I realize today that I come in here, that I don't know who put the bill for the road ramp by the golf course. Now I know where the money went to. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Anybody else who'd like to speak? Okay, I will close the public comment section. And we need a motion to go into, and I'll let our attorney formulate the motion to go into closed session, please.
As far as whether or not we may take action, we might, I don't know. So I will leave it at that. Board members, we need a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711A3 and A8. This is for the board to have a discussion about the acquisition of real property and for the discussion of disposition of county-owned property. In regards to the acquisition of real property, it's for a public purpose where discussion in open session would adversely affect the board's bargaining position, and to consult with legal counsel about said acquisitions and dispositions and the procedures thereof. And we will be meeting in this room, please.
Okay.
So move. Second.
So moved by Mr. Jesse, second by Mr. Crittenden. No further discussion needed. Roll call, please.
Mr. Crittenden?
Yes.
Mr. Jesse?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Bill Harris?
Yeah.
Mr. Don Harris?
Yes, we will now move into closed session.
So we'll ask the public to please leave so that we can close the doors
Yep.
and lock them. Thank you.
Matt, do you want,